They're putting chemicals in the water to turn the frigging frogs gay. Yeah. Welcome. Um, we're gonna be covering an end segment of this afternoon's, last afternoon, or I guess it's still the evening for you Yankee diddly doodahs, but over here it's fucking Tuesday, and you're gonna have to deal with it being Tuesday, whether you fucking like it or not. We're not coated in the anti-revolutionary slime today, as you can see. We are clean. We are soaped up for you, Caleb. We are not of the slime. The the slime is taking over. Oh man. There we go. Put a bit on Tchaikovsky on. So, what's it? He says some funny things there. I'm gonna let it speak for itself. Where's the window capture? Boom. Citation needed indeed.
So there you go. Joe Rogan out.
Oh, I've got my telly turned down, so I can't even hear it. I was monitoring the sound to do audio before I start the stream, so I don't have like a 15-minute session of audio testing like I did last time. Let me know if it's not loud enough, and I'll turn it up.
Stripping mainstream media. Joe Rogan, he puts forward a vaguely anti-establishment perspective. He promotes drug use, which I vehemently disagree with. He promotes hallucinogens. That's not good. He promotes like libertarian stuff, but he's questioning some of what the mainstream.
Joe Rogan. Sorry, I couldn't catch him.
Joe Rogan outstripping mainstream media. Joe Rogan, he puts forward a vaguely anti-establishment perspective. He promotes drug use, which I vehemently disagree.
Is Joe Rogan really anti-establishment? I've never heard Joe Rogan push anti-establishment stuff. Like, I mean, if you sense it in the sense that he's not in the status quo, sure, but is that really anti-establishment? Establishment isn't the current elected party. The establishment is the current system at hand. I've not seen Joe Rogan support any forms of like revolutionary or counter-revolutionary means of overthrowing society. He just wants to push his own. He doesn't even want to push his own ideas. He just wants to get stoned and hear fucking shit and then say a load of right-wing shit because the guy's just making money. He's just grifting. He don't give a fuck. I think Joe Rogan gives a fuck about like politics.
With. He promotes hallucinogens. That's not good. He promotes like libertarian stuff, but he's questioning some of what the mainstream media is saying. He's got questions, and I obviously don't endorse what he says, but the fact that he's popular shows that a lot of Americans don't trust mainstream media. So there you go. All right, Tucker Carlson's left flirtations. Okay.
Tucker Carlson's left flirtations. I'm not joking. I think it was Dark Synovia yesterday turned around to me and said that like it was either Dark Synovia or it was Gengaros turned around to me and was like, next thing you're gonna know, we're gonna see Caleb Maupin going on Tucker Carlson and calling Tucker Carlson a socialist. I think it was Dark Synovia. He's doing it. He just called him left. He flirts with the left. He has left-wing flirtations. No, he's a right-wing anti-corporation guy. Like, and how far he's anti-corporate, we don't even know. It could just be a shtick to catch the Tea Partiers onto Fox Media so they can make money. Oh man, let's hear it from the man himself.
Okay, well, there's a couple things you have to remember about this. Couple things. So first of all, first things first, it's pretty clear that synthetic leftism is becoming the party line in the United States, right? The White House is woke, Kamala Harris is woke, CNN is woke, MSNBC is woke. So this fake synthetic leftism that is anti-historical progress, that is full of woke mobs that hate working people, that wants, to foment chaos in the streets, wants to drive down living standards.
Wait, what is he saying? Sorry. I had a brain fart moment then.
A couple things. So first of all, first things first, it's pretty clear that synthetic leftism is becoming the party line in the United States, right? The White House is woke, Kamala Harris is woke, CNN is woke.
Define woke, please. What does that mean? I come from the lumpen proletariat. We don't use the word woke. Not in our vocabulary. Unless you're talking about waking up, then I did woke. I did it. There was a point in time where everyone's woken up. I mean, sure, yeah, in the morning before I have my fucking breakfast and go for a shit. We don't use the word woke, Danny. Define woke, fam. Don't just come here being like, oh, the left is woke. CNN is woke. Kamala Harris, you know, that person who turned around and said fuck off to immigrants is obviously woke, yes. Please define wokeness.
MSNBC is woke. So this fake synthetic leftism that is anti-historical progress, that is full of woke mobs.
But you woke mobs, people who are synthetic left aren't going to be forming protests. Now, there are such things as woke mobs. I'll even, if I've not been on here too long or I don't pass out again, I'll show you guys like white people doing the woke things, but it's like, well, it's what he might be defining as woke, but them going around and using other people's struggles for their own whim. But like, what does he mean? Because he goes on about destroying stuff after this. That's why I had to go back. So I was like, whoa, that's an escalation. It threw me off guard. Like, what the fuck? So like, you know, what mobs are you on about? You on about BLM? Have you got a problem with the BLM marches, Caleb? You know, those marches that were predominantly started by African people rising up because a brother had been murdered by the police. And you know, for all their other brothers and sisters who keep being murdered by the police, this is a protest that is not. It's not new. This happened in the 90s. This happened in the mid 2000s. This is not a new thing to happen. This is a thing that occurs because of the consistent abuse of black people by the police, and it always eventually reaches a point where it explodes, and these people riot in an unorganized fashion. Rather than calling them synthetic left and just a bunch of liberal rioters, why don't you do what you're about? You know, further down the line, he actually states what you're supposed to do and people rise up, but he's saying this about reactionaries. So he doesn't want to go to the radical people who are somewhat left or at least organically following left ideas and try and organize with them. What he's saying now is he's saying they're all bad and they're all a bunch of CNN actors. But then he goes on later in this video to go on about how you should put aside people who have right-wing reactionary ideas to try and help them because they are in struggle and they're rising up. Fucking hell, man. He ends up like 2 strokes away from supporting January the 6th, the fucking FBI-led fucking thing.
That hate working people, that wants, to foment chaos in the streets, wants to drive down living standards. The disgusting, vulgar movement that has nothing to do with socialism and communism. The synthetic left, the drug-using counterculture, identity politics, disgusting countergang, counterculture communism.
You see this? I'm sorry, this man's telling me that he cares for the lowest workers. He cares for the people at the bottom, and he's like, the synthetic left, all a bunch of drug-using... You know what? You know what I say to that, Caleb? You know what I say to that? You know what I say to that, Caleb? Suck your mother. Smoke the Caleb. Stop being a bitch. Can't see it, but there'd be the smoke. Woo! Am I the synthetic left now, Caleb? Woo! Yeah, there's a reason a lot of us do drugs. Now, this is a lot of spiritual context, and you're gonna fucking rip at me or rip at anyone because we use this for fucking reasons that go down into our culture that we've built up amongst ourselves, the way that we flow and roll. Fuck yourself. There's got to be fucking hundreds of different cultural backgrounds in this world that use this as a part of their culture. They use hallucinogenics as a part of their culture. So fuck you. And you know what? Even if I did this just because my life's shit, who are you to say that? Fuck you. And if you think these middle class lot are all drug users, like, come on, man. The ones that you find that are drug users are a bunch of ecstasy addicts and acid trippers. Like, there's a reason why we specifically look at different types of people who do drugs, and rather than just fucking what's it? We don't just group ourselves all as like, oh, we're all drug users. The different classes, different groups, different people operate different. And you have to lump us in with middle class people because we all use drugs as if that's the thing that makes these types of people bad. And you're generalizing in such a mass scale, it's ridiculous. Generalizing in a way that no one fucking does down here. It makes us all look like fucking morons. That makes us all look like criminals. Sorry, I'm doing two things at once and I can't fucking think of words when I'm doing that. Reporting spam. Anyway, let's listen to fucking. Well, actually, no, there's another point I need to make. It's like what 70% of the lower class drug users, of like lumpen proletarian people. I mean, at least amongst homeless demographics. So, like, how are you going to appeal to people if you're such a fucking, for lack of a better term, white boy about drugs? Like, there's no word for you other than hunky bitch, Caleb. White hunky bitch. Like, what all drug users? As if they're like their politics. If their politics are bad, criticize their politics. Why are you criticizing their lifestyle? And not even in a way that's like critical of class. You're criticizing like something that could have cultural fucking reasons. I use this because while the world is racing around you, it gives you that pause, that moment to feel more connected with what you're experiencing, the world going on around you. You feel more connected. You feel more embraced with the fact that yes, the world is spinning fast, but by God, to us it's slow. By God, to us it's slow. When you really think of the aspects of the universe, to us it's slow, and the people around us, they're in the now. They're not in the then. They're not in the, they're not in the coming. They're in the now, and we got to deal with the now, and you got to apply to people in the now. You got to think of people in the now, and you got to think of how you're getting them into the future, how you're pushing them forward, and how you're doing that has to revolve around their experiences that come from the past. It helps with the way that my fucking hypersensitivity clouds my brain up and chill me out. Of course, if you smoke enough of this, clouds your brain up too, but that's fine because you're already laughing your ass off by then. Misuse of the herb is their own problem. That's their misuse of the herb. I use the herb because the herb helps me. It also eases off my pain, and not in a way where it kills pain. It doesn't actually deal with the mass majority of the pain. It just cuts off a bit of the top that helps you. It helps tolerate rather than frustrate. It's hard to explain, but just criticize people like this is mental. More than half of drug users are disabled. I'm disabled. So this is disgusting behavior to constantly frame drug addiction and drug users as these sinister, evil, criminal-like people. Because you know what a lot of racists used to do? A lot of racists do, because they do it now. It's a modern thing. No. What racists do to avoid saying black people are the problem is they normally say drug addicts are the problem. And when you say rioters and drug addicts in the same thing, it makes me feel like you are pointing this towards the black people that rose up. Maybe you should be more definitive rather than using the word woke and synthetic left to describe people, Caleb. You go on about how you're supposed to talk to people like they're stupid, because that's what you believe. You believe that you're supposed to condescend to people and speak to them like they're stupid because you're a prick like that. Well, how about you actually go into fucking enough detail? Because you know what? If you didn't speak like a prick and you went into further detail, we'd all learn and I wouldn't be getting pissy with you and having to fucking rant at fucking 4:48 in the morning, you know, like, what is this shit, man? I have to say in the morning because Americans don't know what 24-hour time is.
A disgusting, vulgar movement that has nothing to do with socialism and communism. The synthetic left foment chaos in the streets, wants to drive down living standards. The disgusting, vulgar movement that has nothing to do with socialism and communism. The synthetic left.
What does Iran have to do with socialism or communism? The answer is anti-imperialism, but you actually call it socialist. That's not the same thing. Being a part of the anti-imperialist struggle, which is one of the struggles towards eventually being able to build socialist, doesn't make a country socialist. Why did you call Saddam Hussein a socialist? Like, what? Where's the definitive for Saddam Hussein's socialism? Please explain. I'd love to know.
The drug-using counterculture. Identity politics.
He's believing counterculture as well. Aww. Counterculture's a fucking a bourgeois marketing strategy, Caleb, that's been used to test the waters on how we can manipulate the public to create separations to make them easier to control. Because when the capitalists study psychology and find new ways to control people, they use the advertising and television systems and and obviously now the online visual audio media to test bed these shit and see what they can do. And they found out that they can actually manipulate people really, really well with council culture and the fucking all this bullshit where both sides will go and waste money on crap to break it or just to buy it as some form of weird protest. It's all bollocks. But this whole like hippie drug using goddamn bastards. I ain't no fucking hippie, and I don't like people being referred to hippies because they use drugs, or being referred to hippies because we're poor, broke down people that are struggling for what we want. That ain't what hippies do, fam. Hippies don't protest proper. Hippies stand with a few signs on picket. Hippies are the fucking hippies are stoners, but hippies are the Trotskyists of the stoner crowd. Like, bunch of fucking knobheads. No one likes them. No one fucking likes them. Yippee hippie IA. Bunch of fucking normie bastards that, whilst not being involved, end up just aiding the CIA by not standing for what's right and being ready to fight. That's the problem with them.
Vulgar movement that has nothing to do with socialism and communism. The synthetic left.
The synthetic left.
Drug-using counterculture. Identity politics. Disgusting countergang of the ruling class. The cancel culture obsessed woke mobs. They are the ruling party line.
What's these woke mobs? Could someone explain to me, please? I want these woke mobs explained to me. He looks like he's about to cry with the way he's looking at me. Did I upset you, Caleb? Are you sad?
Okay, that's what the ruling class is doing.
Okay.
This is their new form of fascism, right? You know, instead of doing regular fascism, they figured
it's their new form of fascism.
Okay, we'll try to have some like weird. This is their Bonapartist movement to try and control U.S. society. This is
Caleb. You literally preached Kaiserism, which is Bonapartism, the other fucking month. Oh, do I have to find the video? Oh, shit. He turned around and set the fucking CPI national holiday to Julius Kaiser's death and preached Kaiser was a good dude. Like, you are a Kaiserist, Caleb, which is Bonapartism, one-man theory. Caleb, if you're gonna project Don't project summer. You've openly called yourself, you fucking moron. That's not how projection works. You're supposed to project in a way where you say something that doesn't make you out to also be the problem in the situation. Isn't that the point of projection? You put your ideas onto someone without directly pointing out that it's your ideas. Like, I mean, you may have changed the word from Kaiser to Bonaparte in this situation, or Caesar as you pronunciate it. But neither the fucking less. You preached Kaiserism. You cutie patootie. Oh my god, I want to kiss you on the forehead.
This is their counter gang that they built up, synthetic leftism, right? Now, because that's the ruling party line, it's taking the place of neoconservatism. For years, neoconservatism, evangelical Christians, and the neocon right wing were kind of the core that held U.S. society together. It was the main political tendency the ruling class was promoting. Now the ruling class is promoting wokeism as the main trend to hold U.S. society together. So you'll remember during the time when neoconservatism was the main trend among the ruling class, there was opposition to it, right? There's always going to be opposition. And I remember during the Bush years when neoconservatism was the main, current that the ruling class was promoting. What they did was that, there were libertarians who were against neoconservatives, like Alex Jones, like antiwar.com. And those people were very much courted by the left. Air America used to interview them all the time, even though they weren't left-wing. They were like year.
Let me go to the start again. I need to tell you up. Caleb speaks in a way where I struggle to hear some of the words he says, man.
Now, because that's the ruling party line, it's taking the place of neoconservatism. For years, neoconservatism, evangelical Christians, and the neocon right wing were kind of the core that held U.S. society together. It was the main political tendency the ruling class was promoting. Now the ruling class is promoting wokeism as the main trend to hold U.S. society together. So you'll remember during the time when neoconservatism was the main trend among the ruling class, there was opposition to it, right? There's always going to be opposition. And I remember during the Bush years when neoconservatism was the main, current that the ruling class was promoting. What they did was that, there were libertarians who were against neoconservatives.
Yes.
Like Alex Jones, like antiwar.com. And those people were very much courted by the left. Air America used to interview them all the time, even though they weren't left-wing. They were right.
Does he mean courted by the left? Does he mean cultivated, involved with, organized with? Because I know that there were people who were left in the Lumpen that watched Alex Jones, but that's something that didn't last all too long because Alex Jones ended up showing his true colors very quickly to these people when he started turning into a marketeer. The old grifteroonie. But I wish people wouldn't use fancy terminology when he goes on about you're supposed to explain things to people like this dude, but I can get concepts of complexity, sure. But if you're not going to use words that are in my common vernacular, it doesn't matter what you say. Courted sounds like a word you use when you're gonna fuck someone. What the fuck what you on about? Sounds like you're some fucking sounds like you're some weird fucking misogynistic sort of guy going down to the club or some shit. Why go on with this?
Right-wing libertarians. They were John Birch Society people, but they were against what the neocons were doing, so they were kind of treated as an ally by the left. I'm trying to think of other examples, right? The anti-war protests. The Libertarian Party would be there. In Cleveland, there was a guy called Wacko Macko, and he called himself a libertarian, but he was a neo-Nazi. I mean, he was a Holocaust denier, and he would show up at anti-war protests and pass out his leaflets. Bush is violating the Constitution. Vote for the Libertarian Party. He was a white supremacist. He was a Holocaust denier, fringe candidate in Cleveland politics. He would come to all the left-wing protests. The RCP would call a rally. He would show up and hand out his leaflets. Why? He was against what the neocons were doing. And so that happens. In U.S. society, you tend to have the current that's being promoted by the ruling class and the opposition. Right now, the synthetic left is the new neocons, right? Now, instead of getting people to, wave their arms at evangelical churches.
Caleb, the ruling class was not entirely behind Alex Jones, as you even said you said. The ruling class was having a scuffle between neoconservative neoliberalism, not the libertarians. They weren't winning. The neoconservative libertarian, the neoconservatives of the neoliberalist sort of faction, the neoliberals, let's just put it like that. All these terms are getting confusing. The Republican neoliberals was one choice. The Democrats were coming up with the third way. That's the other choice. That already contained this synthetic left shit you're on about. There's nothing new. There's been a trend since 1993, when Tony Blair wrote the document The Third Way and published it in 1993 with Gerhard Schroeder. It's nothing new. Them adopting struggles from people is nothing new. But I can tell you now, those are the people in power. The people on the streets are completely on the fucking fence when it comes to the people in power. They're not going there because the people in power are the people driving them up. These are just people that are going out because the struggle started. Now, maybe there are people out there who are associated with the power group. I don't fucking know. But here's the fucking thing. You're going to talk about right-wing shit, like you're supposed to go there and deal with the reactionaries and try and organize them to be revolutionary. Have you not going to do the same with these left-wing shits that are cropping up? And you know what? The fact that they're aggressive rioters is a fucking good thing, Caleb. Stop being a bitch. Antifa are aggressive for a reason. I don't know if you understand what a fascist is, what a Nazi is, Caleb, and what they do to Native and African and well, Puerto Ricans are part Native anyway, but Puerto Rican communities and Mexican and immigrants in general, but yeah, Muslims especially. What they do to Jewish people in America. Like, there's a reason why Antifa is, especially in America, really important, but it's just as important over here when you really think about it. Like, we like to think of America as especially evil, but we crafted those evils, and those evils stick and stink for our society, and also we have a monarchy, so we're more fascist, which is unfortunate, because unlike the American state, our people have been disarmed from their capacity to fight fascism. Actually, anti-fascist groups have been put on watch and things like that, and but the I lost my train of thought. Let's just continue on.
And vote for Bush and join the military. Now people wave their arms at woke rallies and protest against China because it's racist to Uyghurs or something like that, right? This is the new trend of the rules at woke rallies and protest against China because it's racist to Uyghurs or something like that, right? This is the new trend of the ruling class.
Well, did you just wave off the fucking the anti-terrorist acts that China put in place in the Uyghur region that's used to discriminate against them and imprison them and fucking basically obliterate their culture into this one Chinese culture and one Chinese history? Like, just because they're not murdering them doesn't mean cultural genocide doesn't happen, and you fucking dweeb. This is literally a process of capitalist nations. They assimilate. And those who don't assimilate are treated like terrorists. Fuck me. One of the declarations was, do you have a weird beard? Please define to me, Caleb. What is a weird beard? I'd love to know. While you're at it, you can define billionaire socialists.
So these people, like Tucker Carlson is against that trend. And he's on Fox News. So he is going to...
We're just like Tucker, because Tucker is against the synthetic left. Tonight on Fox, Caleb Maupin sucks Tucker's dick.
Jimmy Dore is against the woke left. I'm against the woke left.
Jimmy Dore. Yeah, but Jimmy Dore also defended Kyle Rittenhouse. Suck your own cock.
Tucker Carlson is also against the woke left. So he is going to give common ground and voice to people that are also against the establishment. His ideology is certainly not a left one, right? He's a right-winger. He's an isolationist, but he's more anti-war. And Jimmy Dore is anti-war, and Jackson Hinkle's anti-war, and I'm anti-war. Max Blumenthal's anti-war. So there's some overlap. He is got kind of I think more of a right-wing populist, kind of Catholic localist worldview, right? That he doesn't trust big corporations, kind of like Pat Buchanan and the American Conservative.
Doesn't trust
because of that,
he works for a corporation, Caleb. He doesn't trust those goddamn corporations, except for the Fox Media Corporation. You know, one of the biggest media conglomerate corporations in the world. There seems to be a problem here. Yeah, you know.
Leftists, legit leftists that aren't part of the wokeism that feel that way, there are also going to be some overlap. And I don't believe that anybody should decline a platform. If Fox News wanted to have me on and I could arrange it, I would do it, right? Because to get access to that millions of people, I would really want to. Right? I don't agree with Fox, but if I can go on CNN, I can go on RT, I can go on Fox. You know, and we never need to turn down any. We never need to turn down any opportunity to speak to the masses. We never need to.
Yeah, but there's a difference between being like, yeah, I would go on any media because I'd like to say my piece. Because anyone would do that. Of course you would. Anyone gets the advantage to speak to a lot of people and mess the media up. They would. But you're not saying that. You're saying like, oh, actually, you know, I'm gonna go on there because I really respect the fact that Tucker is at least somewhat our ally. I mean, your title for this was Left Flirtations of Tucker Carlson, which means you're giving people the preconceived notion that what you're describing here is some form of flirtation with the left. I don't know if you know this, but being against war is a pretty neutral policy. I'm pretty sure war is bad. I'm pretty sure war is bad, Caleb. I'm pretty sure that's a neutral policy. I don't think it's left-wing to say, oh, I don't like war. War never changes, but fucking Caleb's understanding of it needs to
turn down any opportunity to speak to the masses. I mean, if the masses are going to hear you, you never put up any unnecessary barricade between yourself and the masses of people. So if Tucker wants to have me on,
unless they're drug addicts or homeless, apparently.
Or have.
I'm only going off his words because he hates people that are on drugs, and I mean, it's only going to extend from there. So, you know. He also doesn't like to fucking listen to people that criticize him.
Jimmy Doron or whatever, I have no problem with that. And there's going to be some overlap. Tucker said the truth about Russia. Good for him. Tucker has said things about big corporations, how they affect the country. Good for him. When he talks about immigrants, the way he talks about them is abominable. And the way the way he's defended a lot of free market stuff is abominable. His anti-China hysteria is awful. So, but there is, this is the period that we're living in. And that's what you need to remember. The woke cult is the main current that U.S. imperialism is fomenting.
The woke cult. Caleb, you're forming a cult. I know people who've been kicked out of your inner circle just because they disagreed with you. You are in a cult. You only have people as close to you as possible who lick your ass out as much as possible. You take hard workers like fucking Dust James as a truck driver and you suit him up and dress him up like some monkey. Mate, suits, we call them monkey suits down here in the lower class. We don't dress in that shit. Now, you know what suits are for? Weddings and funerals. Weddings and funerals. Everything else, you dress nicely in, ordinary people's clothes. Like shit that you're not wearing when some utterly fucking bamboozling's going on. So, I mean, Caleb, no. You're a fucking prick.
Now, so unfortunately, U.S. politics is going to be kind of polarized around, are you for them, are you against them? And that's going to put people that are against them in similar categories, but that doesn't mean that we should shed our ideology, right? We need to stand firm in our principles. When the left was the main current of opposition and the neocons were the opposition, a lot of these forces, like the Workers' World Party, they just went along with whatever the left was saying, whatever was trendy on the left, because it's against the wokes. Well, if we did that now, and if we said, okay, we're against the wokes, so we're just going to do whatever is trendy on the right.
The Workers' World Party, mind you, he said is full of third worldists now, apparently. It was like 2 or 3 months ago, maybe a bit longer. He said that the fucking, there was neo-Trotskyist and they did loads of good work then, and then it got taken over by the evil third worldists, and they turned the party into the trash it is today. Not the still neo-Trotskyist leadership that runs it. No, it was some third worldists that he can't put a name to.
Then we would end up supporting racist anti-immigrant policies. We'd end up supporting police brutality and mass incarceration. We'd end up supporting, anti-immigrant bigotry. We can't do that. We have our beliefs. We know what our beliefs are, and we will go wherever we need to go to get those beliefs to the masses. But we hold on to our beliefs. Our beliefs are our beliefs, right? And we don't
hold on to your shit, kids. It's gonna
but
be
if
a
the right wing
bumpy
wants to have a
ride.
conversation with us, about foreign policy, we'll do it, right? If the left wants to have a conversation with us about foreign policy, we'll do it. I've gone on Vosh before. I hate Vosh. I went on a stream, though, to debate it, right? And that we should never put up any unnecessary barriers.
Yeah, but why do you hate Vosh? You have the same. Is it just the China thing? Because otherwise, you guys pretty much agree. Like, fucking, other than him liking Biden. But, fuck. You and Vosh should get along. Fucking Calvinite.
Between ourselves and the masses. We have to be strategic. We have to make the decision. And thank you, Anna Mars, for the tip. I really appreciate it. Telltale sign of thinking a nuanced person is never turning down an opportunity to get your message out. Thank you, Anna. I couldn't agree more. That is correct. There you go. But yeah, we got to hold firm in our beliefs, but just, go wherever the masses are. This is a mistake. At Occupy Wall Street, I was part of Occupy Wall Street, but the group I was in should have gone there to promote communism more. Instead, they just kind of went along with it. They were hoping that they could somehow maneuver into setting up the cage and the permits and be the leaders of Occupy Wall Street. Well, instead of doing that, they should have gone to Occupy Wall Street.
He also turned up with a communist flag, wearing a leather jacket zipped up, with a leather jacket over the top unzipped. It looked hilarious. Like, it was like someone trying to imitate how people dress. Like, who the fuck puts two leather jackets on at the same time? If you ever wear an underjacket when you're wearing a leather jacket, you gotta wear something comfortable. Like, no one's gonna be like, yeah, you know what? I'm gonna wear two really fucking thick layered clothes that are covered in a big chunk. Was you riding a motorbike? Because I don't expect you to be the kind of guy to ride a motorbike, Caleb. I think that thing's a bit too scary and a bit too drug related for you, mate. I think it might be too much. But anyway, onwards. I am taking the piss because I really don't give a fuck for this cunt anymore. I tried being fair, and now I'm just at the point where it's like, I know this guy's a fascist, so I'm just going to keep criticizing him every time I see something fun to really point out how much of a fucking moron and how monstrous this guy's ideas really conclude to be. Because he's sweeping people up. He's getting people into his bullshit. It's working, and that's the problem. We're losing possible cadres to these these I'm having that Northern English problem. These right wing fucking these right wing fucking these right wing patriotic shit for imperialist, not just imperialist first world nations, but a settler colonial one nonetheless. Not a settler colonial one that isn't actually that old. It's only a few centuries old. Most other nations in like Europe and all that are fucking millennia old. Like, where these settlers come from. Where in memory, a lot of them I've got family members who are fucking. Sorry, my brain farted then. Most of them still have it in memory in their culture of specifically where they come from, their specific demographics, whether they're part Irish, part English, part French, part Spanish. Like, it's all somewhat that's commonly kept to them. So obviously, Europe is an important place to these people still. So this idea that they've embroidered themselves in a new American sort of like placement, no, they see America as like their conjoined own place that they made. You gotta remember, it was only 70 years ago that America, no, sorry, 90 years ago that America moved from being like Anglo-Saxon is the white people and everyone else is beneath, to being to incorporating the other white groups as not just sub-white, because that's what they used to do. They used to treat Irish and Italians as lower white. That's why the Panthers basically said it was Anglo-Saxons, Irish, Italians, and then African and native people at the bottom, was sort of the class structure and demographic of the way society was run on a ethno-state basis. And then in 1930s, Roosevelt brought in the multiculturalism that incorporated all the white groups more into whiteness. So you got this sort of white-black distinction to be more sort of would it be duplicit? Like, to be like, there's two of it, so it's like very, so that there's two distinct sides. That's what I'm getting at. So there's two distinct sides to the struggle. Yeah, but few people I know on Facebook, sadly, from my class, the lumpen and semi-proletariat, and disabled like me are getting sucked into Caleb's and the CPUSA's bullshit. It's sad. It's sad they don't realize Caleb and CPUSA don't give a shit about them. Just using them. Indeed, indeed. It's these fuckers are doing the Mussolini style strategy of appealing to the lower denominators in the most sort of basic of means, but they treat you like a fucking they treat you like a cunt if you're on drugs. Like if you're on drugs, you're seen as like one of the worst things ever. Like you're a bane on them. Don't talk to them about that. Like how white and middle class is that? Like where drugs is like their big fucking turn off from people. Not whether you've stabbed a guy. I mean that probably would be problematic to you, but it's not like you stabbed a guy. Like they're just fucking like, oh well, you smoke fucking bit of weed. Oh wow, fucking hell, I'm gonna throw a pansy about it. Because I mean, like let's say if they're on something like meth, crack, or heroin, you'll find that if you offered them support rather than condemning them, and offered them, not mandatory, you offered them support. Because I mean, helping people and making them a cadre are two different things. You don't need to not be drug addicts to be helped. You help everyone, but you offer them the support. You don't force them. You don't tell them to fuck off. You don't blast them. You offer them the support, and they take it. You may have someone that you could eventually get into a greater placement, but they'd like to become a cadre, because as soon as you get them to a point where they got that meth out their system, they'll like to be building up. I know plenty of comrades who've been addicted to crack and meth. Most of them are most of them are actually white and in America. Which really goes against the stereotype that the middle class put on, that it's the poor African people that are the drug addicts. You'll find that meth is mostly rampant amongst poor white communities. Same with crack. Like the only reason there was a rise in crack in black communities was because of the Reagan administration and the Carter administration and their plots of implementing crack throughout the black neighborhoods. It's something that it actually organically it infects the white poor neighborhoods massively because of the when you look in the Lumpen. When you look in the Lumpen, you'll find that, especially those who are organized into even gangs, black Lumpen people, African Lumpen people, are more conscious about what they're dealing with. They're more concerned about what they're putting into their body than a lot of white Lumpen people are. There's a lot more concern for organizing. There's a lot more understanding of history and struggle. A lot of white Lumpen people come from the aristocracy and act still like they're in the aristocracy. And they're mindless to the struggle compared to a lot of these African lumpen proletarians who come from families who have spent generations moving in between the low working class and the lumpenized working class, consistently struggling their life, and they descended from fucking slaves as well, so they have that in their historical reference sheet. Like, Wagwan with them, what they got, what's the white man got compared to the black man? What has he got to put on the table? I agree. Being clean of coke and meth 2 years now meant yeah, I get you. Yeah, meth is the white lumpen drug. Indeed, indeed, indeed. From what I've heard, pretty much exclusively. Pretty much.
Convince people to be communists. And instead of just going to Occupy Wall Street, we should have gone to the Tea Party. We should have gone to the Tea Party and gone into the Tea Party and tried to convince the people there to be communist. And you should go to Black Lives Matter rallies and try to convince the people to be communist. The Communist Manifesto, I'll read it to you again. Great part of having a laptop here. What does the Communist Manifesto say? And I quote this many times.
What does the Communist Manifesto say? Let me go back a second, because, like, what the fuck?
Occupy Wall Street and convince people to be communists. And instead of just going to Occupy Wall Street, we should have gone to the Tea Party. We should have gone to the Tea Party and gone into the Tea Party and tried to convince the people there to be communists. And you should go to Black Lives Matter rallies and try to convince the people to be communists. The Communist Manifesto.
What I was saying, then stop condemning people as these wokish drug addicts. Then you prick.
Great part of having a laptop here. What does the Communist Manifesto say? and I quote
It's
this many
literally
times.
like, okay, rather than just describing the situation, explaining why he needs it, he's like,
This is the great thing about having a laptop here. I'm gonna Google what the Communist Manifesto says.
it's also funny that, like, recently with my criticisms, like, of him writing, I've made some, like, criticisms of his, like, presentation, and, like, all of a sudden he started using fucking, what's it? StreamYard, what's this? Caleb upgrading his streaming capacity. I'm not no longer streaming directly through YouTube. I've got the StreamYard. I wonder if he pays for the premium.
And this needs to be this
That would be
very,
funny.
very important thing in the Communist Manifesto that nobody pays any attention to. But in the final section of the Communist Manifesto, what does it say?
Caleb, read us the Communist Manifesto.
What does it say? In short,
Carrot boy.
communists everywhere support every revolutionary movement against the existing social and political order of things. In all these movements, they bring to the front as the leading question in each the property question, no matter what its degree of development at the time. And finally, they lay.
So why don't you bring the property question up when thinking about China? Where's the property question in when you called Iraq socialist and said during Saddam's era, where you called Saddam Hussein a fucking socialist? Where was the property question? Where is the question asked from Lenin's definitive in State of Revolution of dictatorship of the proletariat? Where is the definitive of dictatorship of the proletariat? Because China admittedly doesn't have a dictatorship of the proletariat. It has a dictatorship of the whole people. Now, you know, the whole people includes the bourgeoisie with billions of pounds, well, billions of dollars, pounds, same difference. These motherfuckers, a lot of them are in the government. Because they're in the fucking ruling party. They're a part of the Central Committee. They decide how society is run. What is the name of a merger of state and corporate power, Caleb? Like, if I Google merger of state and corporate power, what do you think is going to come up? Shall we do that? Shall we have a funny? Oh, wow, look. What would you know? Fascism equals state and corporate power. Benito Mussolini. The 10 Pillars of Fascism. Number 1, a mythic past. A great mythic past which the leader harkens back. Number 2, propaganda. This is the merger of state and corporate power. So, why the bourgeoisie and the government, why is their corporations merged into the state apparatus and wielded by the state? And why is the government led by a billionaire? Like the property question, China is literally ran by a fucking billionaire, Mr. Maupin.
For everywhere for the union and agreement of democratic parties in all countries. The communists disdain to conceal their views and aims. They openly declare that their ends can be attained only by the forcible overthrow of all existing social conditions. Let the ruling classes tremble at the communist revolution. The proletarians have nothing to lose but their chains, and they have the world to win. Workers of the world unite. That is how the Communist Manifesto ends. Now,
workers of the world unite, which is why the third worldists have stood on the line of we need to just unite behind the third world movement, because that is where revolution is at its strongest. Yeah, fucking cunt.
Now let's go over that. Let's break it down here, because I want
Let's
to understand
break it
So I'm
down,
gonna
everybody.
Quote Marx and Engels later.
To the left.
And so we'll
Take
do
it back
that.
now,
So
y'all.
let's just break this down. In short,
One
communists
hop this
everywhere
time.
support every revolutionary movement against
Two
the
hops
existing
this
social order of
time.
things. Now, what does it say there? Does it say communists everywhere support every
To the left.
revolution against the existing social
Slide
orders
to the right.
of things, as long as it's woke?
Crisscross.
Do communists support
Crisscross.
every revolutionary movement against the existing order of things, as long as the people involved aren't racist? No. Do communists support every revolutionary movement against the existing social order of things, as long as do communists everywhere support
Listen.
every revolutionary movement against the existing social order of things. Now, what does it say there? Does it say communists everywhere support every revolution against the existing social orders of things as long as it's woke? No. Do communists support every revolutionary movement against the existing order of things as long as the people involved aren't racist? No.
Caleb, you are on settler colonial land. Yes, you do. If we are to ignore imperialism for a second, what would you think would be the primary contradiction of America? Do you think it's just the capitalists and the workers? Or do you think there might be a racial relationship due to Anglo-Saxon whiteness and Spanish blackness being merged into this hodgepodge fucking thing to make the apartheid state of America? You know, would you say that it would be? Would you side with racists in apartheid South Africa? Would you side with racists in Israel? Then why the fuck would you side with racists in America, you white motherfucker? Post-whiteness is the only way. White is a social class, a social strata made by the British to distinctify themselves from those that they are oppressed. Hell, the British called the Irish not white. The Irish are paler than the British. The British even compared the natives in America, in Canada, sorry, to the Irish when they were oppressing them and murdering them. The post-whiteness is the way forward, and pan-Europeanism. I have no respect for this indulgence of white settler colonialism because you don't want to criticize racism. I mean, you're willing to go and call people who have been rioting up just a bunch of fucking woke drug addicts, but then you're like, oh no, you should actually help BLM and all that at the end, just to save fucking face, when you just turned around and plastered this idea that anyone and everyone out there are just a bunch of drug addict, villainous, criminal, fucking woke skulls. Motherfucker. And you fucking... But you turn around without any criticism at all, tell people that they should be supporting revolutionary racist groups. Dude, in this era, if you're racist, you ain't fucking radical. Like, what the fuck? You ain't moving forward. Like, we're far past getting through to this. You know, the way that I get through to American racism is I don't fucking sell my fucking beads on it. I speak to them about it. I make them sit in the shoes of the people they're criticizing. If they don't like it, the conversation ends. I don't deal with it. I ain't gonna fucking deal with someone that after you put them in their shoes, they still can't empathize with it. What's the point? If you can't empathize with someone's struggle, you can't feel the pain when it's described to you from people who have experienced the struggle, or people who know people who have experienced the struggle and know how to tell you to it as it is, and you can't feel anything from that, and it doesn't make you have a reconsideration of whom you are. You're entrenched. Why am I going to side with someone who's entrenched, who might shoot fellow black comrades, who might attack fellow black comrades? That's putting them in danger. That's making them feel uncomfortable. After we've oppressed them for ages, we've got to turn around and make everyone walk on eggshells for some fucking white motherfuckers. Fuck off.
Oh. Revolutionary movement against the existing social order of things as long as the people involved are politically correct and left-wing and liberal. No, that's not what it says. It's not what it says.
There's a difference between, you know, being, because there's a difference between, like, being not politically correct, because of course it's going to happen. There's always going to be reactionary elements in a revolutionary movement. But there's a difference between people not being completely politically correct, which is tolerable and deal with the bull and we can move forward from that. And of course, people always have their own views, so there's nothing you can stop. To literally turning around and saying, side with racists. I'm really liking down with post-whiteness and pan-Europeanism along with pan-Celtism. Want to talk to Comrade Dent about that. Yeah, you need to set up a Skype or a Wire account so we can get a conversation going. I've tried to get Net onto Telegram and it's not happening. meant are not. S- uh, uh, Either one's fine, but Wire is encrypted if that makes you feel more comfortable. Skype is probably easier to set up though. Both are pains in the ass to use. Not difficult to use. The UI is simple. They're just dodgy. So expect connectivity problems from either. You can tell this is not sponsored by either because they're trash. I'll tell you they're trash. All media outlet use social media talkative tools end up being crap. And then they'll be like, oh, you can buy a premium version and it basically fixes all the issues that are causing you uncomfortabilities. It's like, oh, this seems like a bit of a market ploy. Skype's not like that. Skype's just actively shit. Like there's no premium, it's just shit.
It says communists support every revolutionary movement against the existing social order and political things. Every, period. If people are against the system, if people are at odds with the capitalist system for any reason, because they think their taxes are too high, because they're mad about the economy, because they don't like vaccine mandates, whatever it is, wherever people are at odds with the system, the communists must go there. But what do they do?
Well, yeah, we go there to engage, to pull them over to a greater sense of thunk. Like, we're not opposed to speaking with people who are racist and trying to convert them to be not, the not racist, Caleb. There's a thing called so this is some real big logical fallacy. If we had this mindset that you're purveying, Caleb, no one would have ever bothered trying to organize anyone. None of us here would be communists because no one would have ever gone at anyone off the ideas. Most people have been in a situation in their life where they've had racist or bad ideas in this first world environment, whether they know it or not, because a lot of passive racism exists from people who believe they're not racist. And it's that critical capacity for people to change their minds, because we all have brains that we interact with and breed with. Everyone's an intelligent human being, and everyone's attempting to use logic to figure out the way they use them, unless they've obviously in some way become mentally ill in a way where logic is a hard thing for them to confine on. Unfortunately, those people are used as a way to insult people. It's disgusting. But the everyone's using logic, whether they're right or left, when they're making their ideas. You've just got to see what their logic is, whether it's because of some sincere beliefs that would actually be better suited if socialism was supporting them, and that they're not in on the way in which things like fascism and liberalism corrupt people, or people that fit the Caleb side of things, where there are aristocrats who go and try and organize revolutionary further into counter-revolutionary movements. Because that's the thing, is a lot of people are there because they've been tricked. A lot of other people are there because they actually believe the racist shit that they're pushing, whether they're pushing it implicitly or explicitly. It's a common problem in the sorry, it's a common problem people misunderstand when they're looking at the issue regarding things like fascism. You've got to seek out the people who have been corrupted. To be honest, it's not some of this your fucking responsibility. I mean, fascists are fascists. What can you do? But I'm not going to tell you that you got to. But the best thing to do is when you engage with someone who's a fucking fascist and they don't seem like they're one of these organizing types. They're one of the bottom line people. A bit, they're lacking in political education other than what the fascists have spewed at them. Poke at them, spell some ideas out. Don't just go, "Oh, I'm a communist," because you shut that person's brain off instantly. Just project your ideas. Show what it is you believe. Because sometimes you'll find that they have been mistaken big time. And when they find out you're a communist after you've explained ideas that you believe and you've described things like socialism without having to use big buzzwords that spook people, they end up being more enticed to be like, oh, fuck, maybe I am in the wrong camp, rather than just seeing you as like an adversary instantly because you've come in and I'm a communist. So no one's fucking here preaching this fucking shit that you're trying to fucking spell out, Caleb. So you're trying to involve us in something that ain't us, motherfucker. And actually, you know, you're the type of people we should people be avoiding. You're preaching this colonial narrative. Caleb, I think you need to research the love-dovey relationship between settler colonialism and Nazism. Maybe research what Lebensraum is. How about I help you? You should co-research Manifest Destiny alongside it. Might give you a picture. A very nice painted picture. You prick.
When they get there. In all these movements, they bring to the front as the leading question in each the property question, no matter what its degree of development at the time. So what does that say? That says, well, if it's a liberal movement, you just go to it and pretend to support it. No. It says, oh, if it's a right-wing movement, you don't go there at all. No. It goes to these movements and brings to the front the leading question, which is the property question. Meaning, if people are protesting against the system, your job isn't to go there and pretend to support it. Your job is not to ignore it if it's right-wing. If people are at odds with the capital...
This guy doesn't care about the property question when it comes to the countries he'll turn around and call socialist. Like, look at the hypocrisy. What the fuck, Caleb?
System. Your job as a communist is to go there.
I must also say, I've got him on 1.25 speed, and it doesn't even sound like he's sped up.
And convince those people to be communists. Raise the property question.
It looks like he's sped up when he moves, though.
Say to
It's
the
funny.
people, you mad your taxes are too high? It's because of capitalism. You mad about Wall Street, 99%, 1%? It's because of capitalism. Wherever the people are in motion, you go.
No, you don't just go up to people and go, oh, yeah, what? There's a problem. It's because of capitalism. It's because of capitalism. You got to explain to people what is going on and what the mechanisms are. And then you tie it to the system. Don't just spit the word capitalism into people's face. You're acting like a fucking trot. Why? You just go up to the people and scream capitalism at them. Fuck you.
Go to them and you win them to communism. And you don't abandon communism and tail after the liberals, and you don't ignore it if the people are right wing. Wherever the
Then
people
why do you
are in a
abandon
confrontation
communism when you
with the
support
existing
China?
social order, it is the absolute duty of
What about the communists in the Philippines that China is arming with billions of dollars worth of weaponry?
communists to go there and win them. And why does it say no matter what its degree of development at the time? Meaning that a lot of times there are people rebelling against the system who are not at all class conscious. That's what that means. That is exactly what it means.
Wait, what?
No matter what its degree of development at the time. Meaning that a lot of
It means no matter what development of the class consciousness at any time, it means that if there's a smaller, these types of struggles happen due to organic class conscious behavior. They wouldn't be struggling if there wasn't some form of consciousness forming. The problem is that consciousness in America doesn't form around class consciousness of the proletariat, which isn't revolutionary. Which is revolutionary. It forms around the counter-revolutionary class consciousness of the labor aristocracy, the shit you're preaching. What Marx is saying here is that you should try to organize the most radical of people, no matter how developed the struggle is. Meaning that, let's say, for example, in Britain, for example, where the society is 67% middle class, the lumpen proletariat don't make up a majority in society, but they have revolutionary potential. They have class consciousness. So you go to those conscious masses and you organize them, because those conscious masses are most likely to become cadres who will formalize theory based on the praxis they have been engaged in struggle, both in their experiences in life and obviously the organic struggles that rise up amongst these people. Who is it that you see rioting for prison rights? I don't see middle class people doing that. Do you know why I see you riot for prisoners? Not just the prisoners in the prisons, but the lumpen proletarians out there who have been in the prisons, or our brothers and sisters and cousins and uncles and everyone in between in prisons. And there's lumpen brothers and sisters in general in prison. It's the prisoners that riot for the prisons. It's the lumpen proletariat that riot for prisons. They're the radical people when it comes to that. And rioting against the prisons is one of the most important sort of parts of radical struggle at this time that we need to be applying ourselves towards. So, out from the movement and into the masses, Caleb. Out from the movement and into the masses, the poorest of the masses. Whom are the poorest of the masses, Caleb? But the lumpen proletariat. Especially the colonized lumpen proletariat. You fucking prick.
Sometimes there are people rebelling against the system who are not at all class conscious. That's what that means. That is exactly what it means. He was talking about the Tea Party when he wrote this. No matter what the degree, go to the Tea Party. And it's going to be really hard to get those people who have a sign that say Obama is a communist and China is taking over America. You have to find a way to talk to those people. It's not easy. It's a tough job. But no matter what degree of development at the time, meaning no matter how backward these people are, no matter how racist these people
He's using the word backward casually. That's a word that the white people have used to describe the colonized, to think this disgusting fashion. No matter how, let's go.
degree of development at the time, meaning no matter how backward these people are, no matter how racist these people are, no matter how confused.
No matter how racist these people are, Caleb, pardon? No matter how? So if you are so racist that you're lynching people, are you supposed to try and convince people that are actively lynching black people? Are you supposed to try and convince people that are shooting at black people? Are you supposed to try and convince people that hunt down black people in certain neighborhoods in white vans, kidnapping them to slit their throats or to beat the shit out of them or to drop them in the middle of the desert? Like, wagwan, man, are you supposed to fucking go and try and have a nice conversation with them? No matter how racist people are, what the fuck? You're on settler colonial land. Racism is one of the primary contradictions. If you don't acknowledge and deal with the race issue hard motherfucking core, you gotta be going at it. And if you think that you can go to any person who's racist and convince them, you're mad. There's so many people you're not going to convince, and there's so many people that you would not be doing any good by involving with. Fucking hell, next thing you know, he's going to endorse Black Hammer.
Confused these people are, no matter how much these people don't want to hear it, no matter how difficult it is, no matter what of its degree of development at the time, no matter what the degree of development at the time, you find a way to go where the people are in motion, in rebellion against the existing order of things, and no matter what, you find a way to bring the property question to the front as the leading question. That is your duty.
Your duty is to find out what the struggle of the people is, what the needs of the people are. Lenin didn't just go up to people and bring up the property question. Of course, it's an important part. But you know what was the really important part? Is figuring out what is the mindset of the people? What is their line? What is their struggle? How do we apply their struggle as the direct motion of the movement? Because as a communist party, I don't know if you know this, Caleb, but you're supposed to be sort of specific to the type of struggles that you're involved in. You know, like in America, being a settler colonial state, racism is a very specific part of the class struggle. To ignore racism would be to blind oneself.
Right? That is what it says. And furthermore, what does it say? It says the communists disdain to conceal their views and aims, meaning that they don't hide what they stand for. They don't hide what they stand for.
No, they don't. It's a good thing.
They don't pretend. You know, they don't pretend. Oh, we're just liberals.
You don't just go and shout at people you're a communist either, Caleb. You let your ideas speak for you. You shouldn't have to fucking label yourself as a communist unless someone asks what you believe and why you believe these things. I mean, you should have flags shown and other things like that. Like, you should be obviously a communist. Fuck me, wear a fucking shirt with a big orange star on it if you want to. Like, with a red shirt with a big orange star on it, of big old red flags everywhere. Show them you're a communist, but you don't need to tell people, I'm a communist, socialism this, capitalism that. No, no. Actually, first thing you should be doing is learning about who this person is, what their struggles are in life and things. You should be trying to learn from the people, and then you turn around and be like, yo, you know what? These struggles, you know what they link up to? They link up to this long historical struggle of class that has come around in full circle to revolution every time these class societies reach their highest point of contradiction where they can no longer withstand the oppressive forces that be and they have to move to a different stage of society. Capitalism especially, so if we're dealing with an American, for example, I mean, like, you go into capitalism being born from the in America by the European bourgeois slave industry. The slave industry was a capitalist industry. It came about at the same time as capitalism and the modern concept of colonialism. Not neo-colonialism, but the basically the post-Roman concept of colonialism is what I mean by the modern concept. The neo-colonialism is not the same as settler colonialism, although there is like settler colonialism that still exists today. Say Israel, for example, but I mean Puerto Rico is also a good example. The USA and Canada and South America, Middle America, Central America. But got it. They're all born at the same time. Capitalism, modern settler, the modern style of settler colonialism, and what was it? The slave trade all came around the same time, about a century between each other. It's kind of interesting. Capitalism actually came just a bit before. It was one of the first motions that gave the capacity for the bourgeoisie to gain a greater power in society was the Magna Carta. And 1295, I think that was signed, or 1298. I don't know. It was when Prince John lost. He lost the war against France and lost like the British colonies over in the Celtic lands of France, and I think we had some other native lands from another group that I can never remember the name of. Either way, let's continue on.
Just like you. Oh, communists, we're not communists. We're just liberals just like you. Now let us organize the protest cage. No. Communists disdain, meaning they try to never conceal their views.
Yep.
Never do they try to conceal their views.
Agreed.
That is the duty of communists. So you asked me for my answer,
The
and I just gave
duty.
you that answer, right? So yes, anywhere we can reach the masses, we got to reach them. All right. How important is it to be able to relate to people if you want to win them to socialism? It's more important than anything else. If you can't relate to people, if you can't understand how they're suffering, one of the most important things you have to do is when you're going to people, you have to listen to them. You can't just talk at them. You have to listen to them. You have to hear them. When you go and you talk to people, one of the first things is to hear what they are saying.
Caleb,
you're going to a group of...
Caleb, when I disagreed with you because I called Roosevelt a fascist, they didn't even call you a fascist, they called Roosevelt a fascist. And you called me stupid, and I said, damn man, I'm lumpen proletariat, I'm the lowest class. I'd expected you to have been a little more sort of influential, teach me what you're trying to tell me, not just fucking turn around and condemn me because of my class position. Call me stupid because apparently I don't know what's wagwan with Roosevelt, and because I quoted Roosevelt saying he saved capitalism, which would have took fascism to do, which by the time he figured out that's what I was leading him on with, because I was actually leading him on to try and answer my point for me, but he then blocked me. You don't hear out the lumpen proletariat, you don't hear out the poorest people, you don't care what they think, you don't care what they feel. You've had your followers coming around calling me a psychopath on Jason's channel and on my channel. Like, what wrong with that? Come on, you want to treat me like I'm a psychopath and all that. So where's your listening to the lumpen? Where's your listening to the poorest folk? Where's your engagement? I was really respectful with you in my first couple of videos and turned around to you and was like, Reach out, Caleb. Reach out to me. You've still got Jason's contact details. Contact him. Ask him for my Skype. Message me, and we can nail this down. Rather than doing that, you just fucking ignored it. You didn't care. You didn't want to engage. You're a coward. You're a coward, and you don't listen to the most poorest of people. You're a prick. And you're afraid of drugs, which is hilarious.
Working people that are trying to convince them to become socialists, you need to listen to them first. What makes you angry about capitalism? Why are you upset? You need to find out what their grievances are and really listen to them. And then, once you've heard them, you can explain, based on what they feel, why socialism is the answer. Absolutely. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Actually, you've got to first figure out what it is that they would like to do, what they feel like is the measures to deal with, and then you try and apply why socialism will deal with it better. You show respect for the logic that they're seeing. You're like, I see what you're seeing now. I see where you're trying to figure things out, but here's where it's really wrong. I was dealing with I think it's like an 80-year-old miner from about a year and a half ago, 2 years ago. I bumped into him when he was walking his dog, and we were having a conversation, and he started going on about like the immigrants taking jobs and all that. And I stopped him. I was like, nah, mate, I'm not having that. You know where the jobs went. You know who took them. It was Maggie fucking Thatcher and those fucking bastard Blairites that came afterwards that shifted all the industry out of this country, and they've continued to shift this industry out of the country ever since. They stole our jobs away right before our eyes. The guy was sort of like, whoa, what the fuck? And was like, yeah, you know what? You're right. I'm sorry about that, man. And it was an experience. You know, because I use the fact that I know where he comes from. I know what he's seen. I know he was there when the jobs were stolen before his eyes, and the guy was like, shit, and it all flashed to his head. Maybe he regrets calling me, telling me where he worked back in day, because obviously I'm gonna know my man's connected with the industry and so Wagwan.
Absolutely. All right. Middle America was the person of the year in 1968. You bet it was. You bet it was. And that was the whole thing. 1968, the election with Richard Nixon won. He stood for the silent majority. That was the beginning of neoconservatism, the right-wing populism, the neocons. They were getting going then, right? It was that right-wing populism, against, portraying the left as hippies. The left is hippies, the left is black people, but average Americans are, don't want to hear it. Oh, David Fox says spot on. It's refreshing to hear. Well, there you go, David. I'm glad. Well, it can't be said enough. It can't be said enough.
Cool. Cool, blimey, good pay some Australian dollars in there, mate, because you really appeal to my set of colonial characteristics, mate. So, mate, it's refreshing to hear someone who condones whiteness, mate, because Australia is a very similar history to Australia, mate. Fucking aye. I used to read every shit Australian accent, but I don't care. If I'm cringing people out, you're gonna have to fucking deal with it. I've got draw mouth, and it's like 5:50 in the morning. I don't want to wake people up by shouting, because it's really hard to do Australian without fucking being angry.
Oh, mate, cool, blimey, gotta get through this fucking video, and we're gonna fucking, mate, fucking blaze this fucking joint, and Caleb's gonna fucking screech, because he don't like no fucking weed, mate.
There you go. But, there you go. 19, that year, that was the beginning of the neoconservative movement, right-wing populism. Okie from Muskogee, that I talked about in my stream, and Richard Nixon fighting for the silent majority. So there you go. Canadian truckers protest. I support it, right? If these truckers, if the workers on the job are saying they don't want to get vaccinated and they're tired of the mandate, again, I'm not a medical expert, and I'm not going to give any medical information and say they're medically.
Yeah, I'm gonna be doing a homeless thing with Lumpen Skinhead at some point. But I woke up and he was live, and I watched like the end tail of this, and it was like, wow, there's some fucking hot takes. His super chats are an interesting thing, because you catch Caleb doing Freudian slips a little more when he's off guard and he's having to answer questions. That's where I caught him doing the whataboutism about fucking settler colonial, ethno states, where he's like, it's
Is France an ethno state? Is Israel an ethno state? Is the USA an ethno state?
Oh man, he couldn't be funnier.
Correct. But I support the right of workers to say, you know what, I don't want this. And if you're a communist and you can't respect the right of workers, the right of thousands of workers, truckers, to come together and say, you know what, we don't want what our employers and our government are forcing us to do, you're not worthy of the name communist. I'm sorry, you can disagree with them. You can say, well, medically, I think they should get vaccinated. And, you know, I'm not against vaccinations, and I'm not disputing anything medical here. But look, if a group of workers, truck drivers, you know, come together and say, we don't want to get vaccinated, the ruling class, you know, should be forced back. And I like to see workers in motion. And yes, the far right has co-opted these protests. Of course they have, because the far right are the only people that listen to the workers now. The synthetic left hates the workers.
Caleb, how would you say that you should operate in this retrospect? Do you A, push like people like the Panthers have, where you explicitly push left-wing ideas into the movement of the working class, and you stand against those right-wingers and tell them that they're fucking, you know, what they are, and you criticize them and you stand as an opposition? Or do you B, adopt the tactics of the right-wingers, call yourself a bunch of patriotic socialists of an imperialist settler colonial state, turn around and start rampantly losing it and going on Twitter tiswazes about third worldists because we dared say that the natives should have their fucking land back to them? God. I wonder what his take is on Puerto Rico. I wonder if he's one of those people that are like, it's like some form of like Latin freedom or something. Actually, looking at the news of Eastern Europe, a lot of post-Soviet countries are becoming ethno-states, or at least exclusive rights based on ethnicity, i.e. Ukraine, Baltics, etc. Yeah, of course. I mean, a lot of fascism is rising up in Eastern Europe, being anti-Russia, and hence the tensions. It's it's something that is used by imperialists to breed these wars so they can take control over the land. I mean, what's the best way to um war for Ukraine against Russia, but then to get people who literally identify as Nazis to rule over a country that borders you? Like, I mean, I'm against Russia's activities and fucking the US's activities of imperialism, but fuck me, I'd rather support you. I'd rather support the crushing of Nazis at this rate. Like, if you're gonna go lesser of two evils, Russia is certainly the lesser one in this case because they're not the ones supporting fucking Nazis. And the Luhansk People's Republic, I've got a lot of support behind them, even if Russia is manipulating them. Like, it's an unfortunate state they're being in. I'd shape it up to the way I support people like Assad and all that, where it's like, well, we need to get the invaders out of the land and then let the people deal with the problem of X, Y, and Z afterwards. Sure, but Russian speakers living in other nations should have equal civil rights. Of course, of course, of course. I mean, there's a reason why the Luhansk People's Republic and the Rostov People's Republic and all that are standing because of uh the fact that the racism against Russians caused by within the fascist Ukraine has created further for a struggle. Unfortunately, Russia's big want to annex East Ukraine is also seeping in into that movement. Now, that wasn't I didn't have too much of a fear of that when they had their I can't remember his name. Was it like Antonio or something? I can't remember his name. There was a communist leader. Um, he was assassinated by a drone. I can't remember his name. When he was in charge, it didn't seem like the Russophilia was taking over, but it was weird. Following that, yeah, no. It's I'm not apparently not anymore, but I was subscribed to him, to getting the notifications as to what was going on. But I think I must have unsubscribed, and I was done with dealing with this shit. Coming through my feed. Following is not endorsement because what's it? Scroll down. Uh, But after this quote patriot social end quote versus quote land back end quote fallout, Caleb tweeted something about how he supported a black belt in the South for black people, and I want to say he supported Puerto Rico. Well, that's all right. It's good he supported Puerto Rico. So no, there's this common thing where white folk just turn around. They're like they want that we'll hand you a black belt. We'll hand the natives some land. We'll hand this. We'll hand that. We'll make treaties. Because he said respect the treaties. He said the treaties. Like people who preach this treaty shit. I ain't got no faith in them. I ain't got no trust in them. It's this white chauvinism that they have an entitlement to pick what land's theirs and what land is everyone else's. The idea that the and land back is a bad name for it. The idea that the true patriotic socialism, the patriotic socialism of the Native Americans that comes through is that white people should be applying for citizenship in native land, and then Native Americans can choose what land white people are either own or are a part of and still belongs to the native people. Because I can't see why these white people should be turning around and picking the best bits of land for them and then just giving the deserts and swamps to Africans and natives. That's what they did back in the fucking day with the natives when they pushed them all onto reservations. It's a way of excluding people. It's what the Australians still do with their natives to this day. It's what the Americans are still doing with the natives on res, and then they still go steal them reses when them res find fucking useful resources there. I agree. I never met a person saying land back. I only see it online. Yeah, it's because land back is not the fucking. It's not the claim. It's political power over the land back to the natives. That's what we may have said. I mean, the word land back may be in there, but it's not a term that we're using as a political line. We're saying We're on about the political control of Turtle Island back to the native people. It's. And I mean, the native people have a discussion to decide about New Africa with the African people. Yeah, that's their qualm to fight with. Yeah, as a white person, they end up having to fucking stand out on that. I can tell the white people that they gotta listen, but it's up to the Africans and the natives that they decide about New Africa. I like and support the idea of New Africa. I'll still state what I believe. I'm just not gonna adamant that my beliefs are what people should believe. Like I ain't gonna speak for the way the black people are gotta position themselves on this. That's the black people's choice. I can speak for how white people are gonna come to this, but yeah. Quote, I have said over and over that I am for the right of self-determination for colonized peoples within U.S. borders, black belt, Aztlan, indigenous. However, I am sick of people derailing progressive struggles by denouncing this as stolen land. Working people are not our enemies. Yeah, but that Aztlan bullshit is based off false drawn up lines of what is native land. Is this white man handle shit to people? These smear artists claim I'm not for that. Just because I advocate socialism with American characteristics. What are the characteristics of America? Slavery, genocide, land theft, colonialism. Everything else that you can point at as some like hokey specific American thing is actually European or African or native shit that you stole off the natives and don't even credit them for it, and then wipe out the rest of their culture. And nothing about Puerto Rico, so yeah, it was Aztlan. Oh yeah, fuck, sorry, I didn't even notice the missing note Puerto Rico, my apologies. Aztlan is bullshit, it's bollocks. I had my native comrade say that to me themselves. Falcone turned around and go on about the bollocks of Aztlan and the racism of it. I'm not experienced enough to turn around and go into full detail on that. Someone something that would be a great thing for Falcone to go into detail on because it's problematic. But yeah, not specifically Puerto Rico, just catch all under colonized people. It's an easy thing to turn around and just go all colonized peoples, isn't it? Like he couldn't be, all he could list was Black Belt and Atslan, and then he forgot. Rather than going, you need to support the movement of the African people, the Native American people, which includes those of which come from Mexica and from Mexico and Puerto Rican and descent, because there is no one respects the native descent of them people. They're just dubbed in this like Latin American category, which is wholly disrespectful. Of course, they have Latin influence on them, but there's a massive amount of people who have been assimilated that don't like the fact they've been assimilated and don't like the fact that more of their people are being assimilated. Um, it's not about their indigenous, like I'm not disputing that. It's white people chalking out their idea of how the land should be given out to the indigenous. It's it there's not a problem with territories forming based on these groups. These groups certainly exist. It's the white people coming out and carving out how it's going to be done. But yeah, it's sort of one thing that needs to be at the tip of breadth when it comes to dealing with the issues of colonization in America is the ignorance of um what's it native groups from Mexico and Puerto Rico and Hawaii. They need to come about this on a basis of not telling this sort of constructual idea of what's going to come next. Like, they can't turn around. White people can't turn around and come to native people and go, we want to, I support this specific model out of fucking bumfuck nowhere. Like, I don't have a model. I don't know what America's going to look like. No one fucking knows. What you need to preach is that white people need to listen to the natives. They need to integrate into, integrate. They need to sit down and listen. Like you said, sit down and listen to the people. And then the only thing that they should be all relating to other white people is what they've been told, what the natives see as the future for struggle. There are plenty of native groups that are struggling out. White people don't know what to do for native groups. They don't know what the natives want. To turn around and go, we'll have our revolution and we'll give you some cultural autonomy. Here's some land we'll throw you. That's them turning around and predicting that the white people are going to even be leading the struggle. It's going to be black and red people leading the struggle. So they need to go to native people. They need to go to African people, and they need to learn from them what is the problems in society, what is going on, because for the most part, white people don't know. And the white people that do know spend more time around black people than do around white people because they're lumpen proletariat, and they're either, in the lumpen proletariat, you're either distinctly a racist or distinctly anti-racist. There's no in between. I mean, white should support colonized people, so he is at least saying he believes in that. I think it is more advanced a position that than most white leftists, let alone white in general, go. But why is he saying these things? Like, he's saying these things because he's been criticized for his patriotic socialism, and he's just throwing out labels to say, I support the black belt, I support Aztlan, etc., colonized peoples. Like, he's fucking he's trying to turn around and give himself a sense of face. And I won't even turn around and take the fact that it comes from Twitter, and you Twitter's showing all that. Everyone, if you need to write something long, you write a shit ton of threads. I don't go on Twitter very much because I can't be asked for it. But when I type something, I'll type fucking until I've said everything I need to say. I don't care about the word limit. If it takes fucking 7 copy and pastes to fucking send the message, I'll fucking have to do that. So brevity ain't an issue. List what needs to be fucking said. Like, when you if you're gonna start being specific, continue to be specific. If you're not gonna be specific, you should have just said colonized peoples to start with. The African people stolen from Africa are colonized people, just as the fucking Native American people have been colonized by the settlerism that's come over here. There are people who have risen into the colonizer class through the way that the capitalist system works, but they're not the they're the few, not the many, and you go by the many, not the few. I'm the same. I go only multi-tweet a lot. Like sometimes 40 to a friend. Yeah. I feel you, brother. I feel you, brother. You end up in a situation where like you fucking you're like having to like rapidly try and place them, because if you're not on like if you're not doing like a main tweet, you can't do the plus symbol to easily paste them all before you press send. So you're hoping someone doesn't just read like the first two and respond, that you can get them all pasted before they check their notifications. So you're there like rapid time, like trying to copy and paste them and shift them in, like, because I think it's mainly a thing because of the trauma I've gone through growing up with my old man, but I really hate people taking me out of context. It drives me insane. So I'm there like having to make sure I don't end up out of context. Another Caleb tweet, this from 2020 before the fallout on patriotic socialism. Back in the day. There's a lot of ageism in this people's group as well that's problematic. That's something that he's tried to target with the way he's operated. Fucking hell, the guy's only in his 30s. He ain't fucking an old sprick. He's a young lad. Might dress like someone's nan, but we all have our tastes. I wear a fucking fedora and walk with a walking stick. It's all cool. YouTube fucking was like, whoa, what are you doing here, son? I favor self-determination for oppressed nations within U.S. borders, such as the Black Belt or Aztlan. I do not go around advocating it because it sounds like segregation coming from a white guy, and I would only support segregation if these people chose it. That's decolonization. Then why did you turn around and stand against us when we were turning around and preaching that fucking preaching white nationalism and American patriotism is a bad idea, because it segregates the colonized peoples. When you go for the patriotic socialism thing, because that's easier to appeal to the white folk, because the white folk don't like the usual, preaching colonized stuff like that. That's a problem, because I don't like this line. I don't like the line of not saying anything at all. Like when I say that they shouldn't give definitives, like specifics, like he's doing here, when you don't know, because what he's saying is he doesn't fully know what they want, but he supports ideas like the Black Belt or Aztlan. That's what he's guaming at. So like, I can excuse his dress because he has journalism job. A lot of folks have to deal with certain dress codes. That's capitalism. RT isn't like that though. RT doesn't make fucking what's his name? Who's the comedian guy? He went on Graham Elwood's channel for a bit. Lee Camp. They don't make Lee Camp dress in a suit and tie. And he fucking what's it? He can't. He goes on about how socialists should dress in a suit and tie and how it's a working class way to dress. So like, I would forgive it if it wasn't something he tried to preach as a part of his thing, and something that he gets like truckers and other people like that to dress like, to be more like fucking him and dress more professional. So people like the Mason Styler just professional, promote that professionalism. Professionalism is nonsensical. But the problem is that like, we're supposed to come in this like, of course, and one thing he did say is that you'll support what the decision these people make, but you're inciting these like extreme ideas where you're like, oh, I wouldn't preach this because it would make people think that I'm preaching segregation because I'm a white guy. But if these people preach segregation, I'd be behind it. Rather than being open, you're like giving this preliminated idea rather than saying I don't fully know the thing, so I'm open to understanding this, or even better, turning around and going, well, from when I've engaged with native people and African people and anyone who is of that demographic who might be who understands this better than I do, because I don't. I'm only going from what I've learned and understand. I've learned X, Y, and Z. I've done this before on stream. I've said this several times when I've come into stuff where I've learned it from colonized peoples. So I'm not just going to not tell you stuff I've learned from them. What's the fucking point of learning it from them? But if I'm going to tell you it, I'm going to turn around and tell you, this is a white guy saying this. I've learned it from someone who's colonized and knows English really well, which in a lot of places can be problematic. They likely in an upper class might have the idea to scorn ideas. B, I am the white guy. I might not be telling it as straight as it is. So I always try and open it up to, okay, criticize me if I'm wrong, but I have heard this from white people, etc., etc. I've heard this from black people, etc., etc. I've heard this from native people. I've heard this from Irish people. I've heard this from Cymric people. I've heard this, etc., etc., etc. No point like doing this like fence post sitting shit. I've dealt with fence posters. They always seem nice. Finball's a fence poster. He seems like a really nice guy. And then when I'm in a conversation in voice chat in his Discord with him and fucking Palinkaj, he goes and turns around and agrees with Palinkaj when Palinkaj said that autism should be wiped out of the gene code. The gene pool, sorry. So, you end up finding out that these nice guys are not being very fond of eugenics, and Finball's actually into the communism and into the socialism. I'd actually see him as someone who actually is for socialism, unlike Caleb. I don't see Caleb as for socialism anymore. I see Caleb as a hack. If not a hack, my God, is the labor aristocracy deluded to fucking build this much of a fascistic response organically? This would really conclude Donna Newman's idea of the organic fascistic activities of the labor aristocracy. I agree with your takes, to be clear, but I think Caleb's position is frustrating because it is actually more advanced than most liberals and progressives who claim to be on the left. You've got a really good point. This is one of the problems that occur with the new fascist types. Like I've seen this with the Blairites. The Blairites produce this pro LGBT comfort for settlerism. That's where you saw the in Britain during the Blairite era. That's when you saw the Scottish, the Cymric, and the Northern Irish governments get devolution of power. That was a part of Blair's idea of showing this semblance of decolonization to make it look like they're pushing for this inclusivity idea, this globalistic idea. Everyone's at the table. We're all in this together. Bullshit. Finball's history videos are good. Even though he fucking said something that was blatantly eugenic, I still wouldn't say don't watch his history videos. I just wouldn't trust him as a person. He's a demonstrous human being as far as I'm concerned at this point, because you can't talk about autism like that. Like, you don't know what fucking neurodivergency is. You shouldn't fucking speak entirely. You should shut your mouth. Like, where was the fence post sitting there? Like, he could have sat on the fence post and fucked off. Like, fucking hell, man. But eugenics be the way of white people, and Finland is one of the fucking whitest places in Europe. At what point do we critique comrades, and at what part are they our enemies? That is difficult. Finball, I don't say is an enemy. That's something that's hard to say. But he's like, it's at one of those points where it's problematic, and I can't be asked to be the one who has to struggle session with him with it, because I'm fucking done with the Finball crowd. I don't involve myself with them anymore. Like, it's all online leftism. Finball even struggles to involve himself with his own crowd because they're all fucking full of shit. I used to be in that fucking server. I tried fucking promoting education amongst his fucking group of fucking pansies. I tried strictly promoting education and it didn't work. No one wants to engage in some form of actual strict study and agree. I agree that was fucked that he said that we have to stand for people's humanity. Indeed, 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 indeed. But I wouldn't obfuscate his work. I mean, there's a lot of things that he said that I still agree with. There's a lot of things that he's promoted that I agree with, and I would still say his history work is good. I just the the guy's personality is problematic. So it's to the point like, well, I wouldn't say his personality. Just it. I don't know, where would you put the line on eugenics? Is it a political problem that he said this? Is it a personal problem? Because that's what I'm trying to say. Like, do I play it as a, because it is politically problematic. I mean, you're attacking a group of people that for their neurological diversity by saying that they should be. And I have autism myself, and he was aware of it at the point of time of the discussion. So it was very disheartening to say something like that. And I don't even know whether it's something that is even fully his own position or whether he's just siding with Palinkaj like a bitch. It's problematic things. But a lot of us see like Palinkaj as an influence on the bad sides of Finball, and why like Finball's group turned their backs on Jason and stopped involving themselves with Jason, abandoned him basically. Like Jason's a isolated dude. No one really interacts with him because they all treat him like he's some fucking crazy, and because of him preaching his third worldism. And the Finball crowd, well, sorry, Finball and his mates involved themselves with him for a bit, rode the clout, and then disappeared, and never engaged with them again. It's interesting. Actually, after several times of being told that Mao Zedong thought isn't Maoism, Finball still keeps promoting Mao Zedong thought as if it's Maoism. I don't know whether he's finally learned the difference, but last time I remember checking, he was still promoting that shit. Tell me I'm wrong if I am, but man, we don't like that shit. We don't like it. Personally, I think Caleb's fence sitting is him being opportunistic, trying to play to a bunch of crowds in hopes of cultivating them. He soft pedals a lot, but I don't think he is a Nazbol ideologue. I think he's a fascist. I don't think he's specifically of the Nazbol crowd. I think he's a fascist. Whether it's by organic tendencies or by actual decisive decisions, the guy in his little fucking like in his book, his anti-Semitic book about the Jews, at his last verse at the end, he quotes like he's speaking out of Mein Kampf. It's in the new dawn, when the in the world that will be built for you and your children, like we're all rising up and understand what is the common enemy. Mind you, this is a book where he's going on about how the Jews are the reason why the economic, well, sorry, the Zionists are the reason why the economic crash occurred. Sorry, I was just speaking it as it may have been said in Caleb's head. But you know how he's blaming the Jews for the economic crisis, and he turns around at the end and he goes that we all know who our common enemy is across the world, and we'll all be rising up against them. He's got some fucked ideas. He constantly calls the bankers a cabal in the book, and the use of cabal to mean a group of sinister beings is an anti-Semitic trope. It's anti-Semitism, and he would know it's anti-Semitism. No, Finball is an ML, but he turned around and called Maoism Mao Zedong thought. Like he said like he equated them as the same thing. He oh, fuck, what was, when was it? He did a video on it, like where he was talking about Maoism as if it was Mao Zedong thought. Like he didn't talk about Maoism as if it was like the the synthesis of Lin Biao by the third world struggles. No, but that's what he's saying. He's saying there is no newism. Maoism is just Mao Zedong thought. That's what he's saying. That's what I mean. He's equating the two when they're not even the same. That would be like saying Marxism, Leninism is just fucking Lenin's thought on Marx, and there's no new contributions.
But again, what should we be doing? We should be going to those demonstrations. And as hard as it might be and as uncomfortable as it might be, you got to win them socialism. That's your job. And that's your job. And I mean, you may not want to do that, but you got to find a way to win them to socialism. You know, Dust James is a trucker. Go and listen to what Dust James, himself a trucker, a Marxist-Leninist truck driver, has to say about it, right? You know, it's not easy. It's not going to be easy. No one ever said this was going to be easy. But one of the biggest ways that communists fall into the trap of revisionism is they take the easy way out. They take the easy way out. They try to do something other than what they're supposed to do. And when you do that, the results are not good. But go and check out what Dust James has said about it. He can speak about it very eloquently, very eloquently. All right. Cite your definitions of socialism, Marx and Engels. Well, very good. Well, we'll do that right now.
A
First,
comment from
since
me
we already have the
should pop up in a second because I don't know whether my comments have disappeared because they're shadow banned. Let me scroll up. Oh no, they're still appearing. So there's one I said from earlier. Why do you never question China on the property question? And hell, I've heard you call Saddam Hussein a socialist. What the fuck do you know about Mr. Muffinman? Being able to read quotes and condescend to folk don't make you a good communist, bro. And after this, there's a comment I marked down where I really get him on what he's doing now. Yeah, I think their contributions are new contributions from each of revolution. When does it become a newism? Castroism, Ho Chi Minhism, interesting questions. Mao definitely contributed a lot to the science of ML. But what I'm getting at as well is that Maoism wasn't just taking what Mao had done and using that. It was contributions were added to what Mao's ideas were and formulated Maoism. Like the way I always put it to people is Maoism's more than Mao. Much more than Mao. Mao is the spark that lit the fire, and the fire blazes fucking thousands, hundreds of thousands of feet in the air.
Communist Manifesto open. Since we already have the Communist Manifesto open, we'll read the Communist Manifesto. Cite your definitions of socialism. This is from Chapter 2 of the Communist Manifesto. This is the section called Proletarians and Communists, right?
Comment's gonna come up in a second.
This is what it says.
There we go. Define it without the books, pussy hole. Oh, 1 second. I'm gonna be funny. Add image. Okay. Browse. There we go. Yeah, I can't find that book by Caleb, so I haven't read it. Yeah, because he took it off the store. He took Satan at the Fountainhead was taken off the store because it may be perceived as anti-Semitic. May um Sophie from Mars with Thought Slime and all that. A bunch of bread tubers did a video on it. Like, I mean, there's some shit that they say that's a bit off canter, but I think for the most part, they talk about like really anti-Semitic sections of the book that's really interesting to get onto. My main point is I heavily suspect Caleb plays to groups in a way which isn't reflective of his actual beliefs as much as theirs. That is what I mean by opportunism instead of being principled. No, that is a thing that Caleb does, but Caleb does that with left groups. From the CPI, the CPI leaver, guy who was kicked out of the group for criticizing Caleb that I speak with, who also organizes with a lot of different groups all over the place. He's very well connected. Can't say names or anything like that because as he told me, he'd be blackmailed. He turned around and told me that Caleb's main sort of process and mission is to organize more of an anti-communist movement than a communist movement. That's the way things are functioning. Like, he's supporting groups that are detrimental to communism, not beneficial to it. He's pushing ideas that are very solid along this socialist patriotic line. Like, that is something that is being pushed in their inner circle. That's not something that's just a pander. That's a part of their main party line. But people like he manipulates different groups to push his message. Like people like Haas and all that, and Titty Liberal, they are being used to just push Caleb's shit and get his fan base bigger, get his user base bigger, get himself a bigger motion of people behind him. Hopefully, get more and more people who will actively join in real life organizations, which, you know what, wouldn't be too hard for him to do because he already preaches ideas that are quite neat to the middle class. And aristocrats who are alienated are looking for a way to socialize themselves better because they are under socialized. They're under they got no sense of community. So it's easy. It's easier than you might think to get these people to come and join these counter-revolutionary orgs that are waving the flag of revolution and claiming to be communists. Caleb's a sewer socialist, man. He thinks if you just change the government from blue one to red one, it will change everything. Well, I'm using British terminology because red's normally associated with socialism here. I'm not saying Republican. I think he is generally anti-imperialist, or at least anti-interventionalist. That seems to be one of his actual passions. Just my read of him, though. Who the hell really knows? Well, he obfuscates the material possessions of the United States coming from imperialism when he talks about his mad dreams. Like, you got to think about it. He's against war. He's not against a financial apparatus existing, because he turns around and says the IMF is bad because it does bad deals. He has no problem with China's IMF because it does better deals than the US's IMF. You know, he has a problem with the World Bank because it does worse deals than the Chinese. Like, that's selectivism. Yeah, pseudo-socialist fits, in my opinion. Pseudo-socialism is one of the organic fascistic tendencies of the labor aristocracy, I feel, that really concludes Donna Newman's theory on the this tendency of the labor aristocracy to fly right and fly high right. Oh shit! I'm pressing space. I'm on the right page.
The proletariat will use its political supremacy to wrest by degree all capital from the bourgeoisie, to centralize all instruments of production into the hands of the state, the proletariat organized as the ruling class, and to increase the total productive forces as rapidly as possible. That's the Communist Manifesto. The proletariat will use its political...
And I think I'm shadow banned. Like, if anyone wants to go and, like, if they can be asked, because I can't, and check the video at these points and see if it does say define it without the books, pussyo. You know, see if I'm shadow. I think I'm banned. I think I'm blocked in a way where I can still post things, but only... Well, actually, I think with the way that the block works, no one can see it. I don't even think the moderators can see it, so... I'm basically screaming into the void, and I thought that might have been the case. But the thing that's funny, the word settler is on the auto block. Like, when I turn around and say that the US is a settler state at one point, the settler auto blocked. So can pseudo-socialists be turned into reds, or not worth trying because they are more likely to break fascist? they can be converted over. Like, I'm not saying we would avoid them. I would even try and push better ideas onto people who are following fascistic ideas. But I mean, it's that I would put them on the same plate as fascists when it comes to difficulty. I would expect them to be more likely to turn to fascism, like especially the Dengist types. Dengism is Dengism actually is neoliberal. Dengist Xi Jinpingism, that's fascism, and that's what they're pushing. Like, if we're to really be specific with it, most people that are called Dengists don't really support the Deng era of China. They support the Xi Jinping era of China, which China actually defines as Marxism, Leninism, Mao Zedong thought, Xi Jinping, Deng Xiaoping thought, Xi Jinping thought. That's what China describes it as. That's fascist. Report unwanted commercial content. By the way, I discovered you on Twitter. Don't not using it as a platform. Hey, it's a good thing that I got to meet you for it because you're a real brother. Like, but you know, it baffles me because every time I go on there, I end up getting spoken to like a cunt by some fucking nofty little prick. That's why I'm a bit off by it. Like, I remember one time when I tried to use it back when I was like 14, and I used it for a week and never went back to it because it's just cancerous. It's like, oh, because the main reason I'm on it, and this is why I give some benefit to it, some props to it. The reason I'm on it is actually for the reason that you found it. It's to make my platform a more sort of somewhat accessible to people, and easier for people to like communicate with me if they ain't got any other way to communicate. Anyone can make a dud account, anyone can do this, that, and the other. So it's easier for people to sort of come and communicate with me, and I have finally added it onto my main page on my YouTube, so people can click on the link thing on there to find me. I might put my Facebook up on here as well, but I'm not sure because I got a Facebook thing, so I might not. We'll see.
Supremacy. Oh, Marxism's got nothing to do with the government, Caleb. It's just independent worker cooperatives. Shut up. Shut up. Political supremacy. What is political?
Oh my God, Caleb! Which government? Which government? Like, are you going to take control over the organs of political power of the bourgeoisie, or the organs of political power of the bourgeoisie need to be destroyed, and then construct the organs of proletarian political power? The organs of power are not organized around the needs of the people. You can't use them for the needs of the people. They're not designed for that. They're designed from the ground up. The base, the thing that enforces the superstructure, they're designed from the ground up. You ain't gonna change that by putting some proletarian government in charge of the U.S. settler state. You've got to smash the state. Smash the state. You build a new thing. Like, what?
Manifesto. The proletariat will use its political supremacy. Oh, Marxism's got nothing to do with the government, Caleb. It's just independent worker cooperatives.
I want to get a really funny
Supremacy.
picture of him.
Oh, Marxism.
There we go. Just a little laugh. I like the power of pause.
It's just independent worker cooperatives. Shut up. Shut up. Political.
Dengism seems like it is replicating in Singapore. It is replicating Singapore. Are you on about one of the sieges of docks? I'm a bit confused by that statement. I don't know whether it's high or whether I am just whether it's because I'm high or whether I am just genuinely confused. To be fair, I can get the foggeth of the braineth very, very easily, and if I'm not stoned, I'm also foggeth of the braineth. Actually, more so, it's like this weird thing. I was talking about it earlier when Caleb said anti-drug stuff before you come, where there's like this weird thing where like if I'm sober, get the braineth foggeth. Oh, the two states theory. I see what you mean. You know, like what China's done with Hong Kong, where they're trying to say that, oh, we're there's two states, one's a capitalist and one's a, or or the way that, oh, actually no, the way that the way George Galloway talks about China. George Galloway talks about China being like half capitalist, half socialist. Actually, in that speech, George Galloway, someone who Caleb is very fond of the politics of, and it goes on to George Galloway's talk, mother of all talk shows a lot. George Galloway is someone who, after describing how he feels he is as a socialist and what he believes in, he goes on about this diatribe about explaining how China is a mix of capitalism and socialism, and that seems perfect to him. And that he said at the end of it is like, in the words of Tony Blair, I am third way. What the fuck? Authoritarian discipling labor for capitalism. Yeah. Yeah, this authoritarian discipline of labor for capitalism. Yeah, this new ways fucking evil at this point. Like, I'm gonna fucking go full fucking. I'm gonna go full Orwellian with the language. Yeah, it's the new model for fascism. I mean, the only difference with what the left are taking on for their way of organizing it. Sorry, the West is taking on for their way of organizing it is they're appealing to more of the LGBT and other bits and pieces like that. Only lightly, only as a veneer. They're not actually helping or solving these problems, and using it as a treat to pop over the top of it. Hey, you got a song about Galloway? What's it called? Cheeky treacherous cunt, because that would be a good name for the song. Ice pick for Galloway. Hey, new song by Annoyed. I subscribed to your channel when you subscribed to me with it, by the way. Got it on, put on one of my tabs for what's it? For the good old listening. So, but been left lying dormant, as it kid. Galloway is another frustrating one because he is good sometimes. His speech to the U.S. Congress was golden. The Pack of Lies speech, his appearance in Sky News to talk about Lebanon and Israel, etc. Yeah, he does beautiful. His constant not letting up on the Assange issue, beautiful. It's what really upset me when I heard him turn around and say he's third way and that he wants to do third positionism. Like, there's no two ways about it. It's fascism. Like, everyone can try water it down with this social democrat crap, but the social democrats killed the communists to implement corporatism. What else are they but fascists? Yeah, you can't trust politicians, right on, brother? You know, true. Even you know what's the unfortunate one with Galloway though that really breaks my heart? He comes from the fucking poor. He comes from the bottom. He should know better. He comes from Scotland. He's a poor man from Scotland. He should know better. He should want freedom for Scotland. He should want freedom for the poor in a proper sense. Proper, true Republican, socialist revolutionaries. Not this fucking Great Britain crap that he keeps fucking trying to shove down our throats. Great British this, Great British that. There ain't no greatness to Britain unless you fucking see greatness in fucking empire and genocide of the Celtic peoples. There's no such thing as a British person. There's the English, the Cornish, the Cymric, the Scottish, the Irish. Ain't no fucking British. I'm afraid so. We'll get back into logging into channel more and upload more stuff. Hell yeah, hell yeah. We nearly called the song Ice Pick for Frauds in case we got accused of incitement of murder. Not a bad idea. Galloway weaponizes his background to justify his reactionary crap and ugly puritanism and transphobia. Yeah, indeed. Galloway has abandoned all leftist postures now. He's gone full on to the right. With the way he's starting to like basically turn into fucking English Caleb Maupin, it seems that way. I wonder fucking what the extensivity of his relationship with Maupin is, because he's a common guest on Galloway's shows these days. He really likes going on the mother of all talk shows. I think you are right to talk about people's class backgrounds. People selling out to being captured by in the mindset of the elites as they love but don't leave out aging, moving folks to the right. Might just call the song Ice Pick for Galloway anyway. Controversy might be handy. Hell yeah, hell yeah, hell yeah. Punk is all about the controversy, in it, brother, in it, brother. I agree. I agree that there is some semblance to that. Like, I say it's reactionary tendencies build up amongst people in their age. I wouldn't say that it's the thing that causes the drastic motions, though. Like, I am sort of. I agree that age is a problem. My problem is the fact that people preach this generationism that gets on my nerves, that makes me get stifled when I hear the age thing. Like, I agree with what you're saying. Like, I'm not criticizing what you're saying. I'm saying that there's like there's a thing with me where my hairs always will stand up whenever I hear the words age, because so many people do this thing where it's like it's boomers this, it's invisible generation that, it's Gen X this, it's millennial that, it's Gen Z that. You can't really make an idea of what the people are by the generation stuff. But no, age is definitely a problem. I agree with you. We can't leave out the fact that when people get older, they latch onto different positions and they whitewash others to make things more comfortable for themselves. They start calling shit that they would rampantly believe utopianism. Indeed, it is controversy as long as it's positive. Hey, so long as it's at the poignance that we're not the Nazi punks, we're telling them to fuck off, and we're supporting the movement forward against racism, against colonialism, for the freedom of the people. Punk has always been political, and we need to bring the politics back into punk and fuck the mainstream off, fuck the faux punk, the pop punk, and all that crap off. This industry fucking sold shit that's trying to tell you it's anti-establishment when it doesn't fucking give a shit about the movement of the people. Get rid of it. I turned 50 last November, and I'm just as childish as ever, and even more hard left than I used to be. I also hate people my age gaslighting younger folk. Damn right, more red punk, hardcore stuff. Hell yeah, brother, hell yeah, brother. The red punk will never die. It is easy over time to let the shit stem beat you into submission. I like that analogy. I think as well, it's a merger of class and age, because you see this more with people who age in the labor aristocracy, because they can turn off from life. I mean, when you're old and poor, it's not like you can turn off and enjoy the fucking 4-bedroom house and semi-detached, or maybe even on a farm or something like that, because you've got tons of money behind you and you can't fall back on the fact that you're sitting there with 3 cars. You've easily got a family that's all well fed, that are all successful, they're all doing well for himself. I mean, George Galloway's kids are doing much better for themselves than he ever did for himself. So it's sort of like, it's a pointation of how things develop over time. No, buttons broke on it. It won't. I gotta like give it a real good, real good nudge to get the cassette player to play. Yes, it's more among the labor aristocracy and middle class types who say I mellow with age. Yeah, and mellow with age normally means become a little more become more racist, become more homophobic, become more transphobic, condone those ideas more within your range of things. But it's I mean, look at like John Cleese, for example. I'm sure most of us here have been fans of Monty Python at some point in their life. We're all fucking funny geezers and funny lasses and funny non-binaries in between. Trying to not over masculinize the conversational stuff when I speak because it's problematic and I don't like it when it's done myself, to be honest. Yeah, we're all funny people here. That's better. That's better. Nice save. We're all funny people here. We all like a bit of junk. We all like a bit of Monty Python and all that. All yeah, a bit of guilty pleasure. They used to promote some social democrat, mind you, and very center left sort of crap, really, when you think of it. But they used to promote that sort of stuff. John Cleese now is like a center right who still calls himself a social democrat, who promotes like real racist fucking ideas of like what's going on in England when he doesn't even live in England, going on about how the Muslims are taking over London and stuff. There's John Cleese today, like what a racist little prick he's turned into. That's what happens. That's mellowing with age. That's what they started. A lot of class, a lot of mellowing with age comes with fucking what's it? You're more iconicized amongst the people you're about. Like old folk are seen as wise men in the lower class. Like when we're on the streets and we're homeless, one of the main groups of people we're always evolving ourselves with are the 50s and up alcoholics. People who are for people who have been on the streets for most of their life is not a bad age to be living at. Mind you that the industrialization made it hard for people to not live live the ages that normally people would live at regardless of squalor or not. I mean, we used to live to 70 with ease for millennia. It's not a new thing for more than millennia, for fucking tens of millennia, for tens of thousands of years. 70 is not an unusual human age. But because of the conditions of capitalism and industrialization, we've created a society where unless you actually have the funds to actually successfully look after yourself, it is much harder to live to those ages that people typically normally live to because it's a normal age of people to live into them. I think I plugged them before, but check out Reconstruction, buddies of mine, great Puerto Rican punks, political lyrics, etc. Hell yeah, hell yeah. What's it? That I'll type them in now to make sure I don't forget because I got really bad short-term memory loss. Oh wait, I had a dyslexia moment. Then I do apologize. Was it? Wait. How's this working? I need to put as channel. There we go. I imagine it's this one. Yeah, there we go. I imagine I've got it right. Is this the right one? I hope I'm not like, yeah, I've definitely got it right, and then I find out that it's not. Oh, Jazz Master. Oh, nice. The common view is that young folks can afford to have ideals, but it ain't cute as you get older. Whatever, I don't think I can change much at this point, but I am approaching 40. I guess you could sort of try and speak like that, but I don't know. People get more rigid, sure, but I feel there's a perception that capitalism pervades to try and keep this sense of normalcy. I would preach to what Stalin says about the application of cadres and the unification of the young and the old. The old have a lot of wiseness, but their positions are a lot of the time too dogmatic. The young bring the new, they bring the fresher ideas to the table, but they're not as experienced in the world, so their ideas may not be as grounded as they could be. When you bring this unification together, the rigidity of the old and the slipperiness and the new counteract each other, and you can forge unity together, and you can get both ideas sort of formalizing synthesis. What I'm trying to say is that old people are convincible. You just need this greater understanding between old people and young people, a build-up of reciprocity and respect that's been lost that we used to have before the era of late feudalism, early capitalism. There used to be this massive understanding of reciprocity and respect between young and older people in peasant families. And I've spoken with you plenty. You're very amicable. Like, maybe your core positions aren't too changeable, but if you're a principled communist, you wouldn't want your core, you wouldn't want to change like very core principles, like, for the proletarian struggle, decolonization sort of stuff, and freedom of your people, etc. Comrades, great chatting again. I gotta go sleep now, but let's continue to build. We have a good cipher going. Revolutionary salute, comrades. Absolutely, revolutionary right salute to you, comrade. Have a good rest, and I'll happily speak to you soon. I'm 44-year-old with a 45-year in May and more punk and revolutionary than I was in my teens and 20s. Oh, it might be. Is it actually this one? It might actually be this one. Yeah, I think I may. The first one I subscribed to may have been the wrong one. Or they're both right, because this says it's auto-generated by YouTube. I'm confused, but it's got a red star. It says Reconstruction. It's got to be the right one. And it says Dream in Puerto Rican. I guess I accidentally fucking clicked on the wrong thing the first time. I'm dyslexic. Absolutely respect, comrade. All the encouragement to the push to the future, and what's it? Albeit to your doubts in yourself, you got a heart and soul about you that I fucking love hearing when you gram about things. And the way you talk about the struggle of your own people, and the struggle of the African people and the native people and even white people in America, it's got heart to it. Yeah, and people who have heart and struggle are people who have minds to struggle, and people have minds to, when your heart and your mind, your soul are in the struggle, you're able to learn more. And then more, the old idea that old dogs can't learn new tricks is bollocks. Sorry if I'm rambling. I'm fucking losing focus of my mind of how to solidly ground myself. Bit of brain fog. Yeah, that's the channel I found for the band. Aye. Sounds good then.
Supremacy. What is political supremacy? That would be government supremacy. So the proletariat will use its political supremacy. It will take control.
Okay, so Lenin, when he commented on this in State and Revolution, Lenin said that political supremacy of the proletariat is when it's armed to a point where it can challenge the bourgeoisie for power over the state. As in, so it can crush the bourgeois state. Oh, the Reconstruction albums are The Liberation Day and Love the Revolution and Abu Jamal, Abu Jamal, EP. They use the Meshitero EPB symbol with the star, with the machete through it. Others might have used Reconstruction who want them to be clear. No stress, no stress. Okay, good night, lad. Respect, brother. And everyone should come to Reconstruction, this channel, Reconstruction topic, with at the moment 38 subscribers. It may have more. 39 now. They're repping it. Not subscribe to our brothers and Reconstruction, and look with album names like Love and Revolution and Liberation Day. You can't be scribing well with this. And with their respect out to Abu Jamal, pop it in. Go and listen to Reconstruction. And that's Recon, like Puerto Rican, and then Construction, just in case you're struggling to read the writing on the screen. I'm not going to expect that just because I've made it large that it's always going to be amicably readable to people. Everyone has their own struggles with these things. It's also in the comment section a few times as well, people. So those that want to just highlight over it and copy and paste it if you're on a computer or something. Actually, I could, you know what? Why am I being a moron? This is a computer. I can put links. Let me be smart about this actually. Sorry. I wanted it to go to my history thing. Recant. Bring up the YouTube thing. There we go. Content, live, details, post reconstruction there. There we go. Save Verone. And now it's in the description.
Of the government to rest by degree.
You should define dual power, Caleb. You should define dual power. Good night, comrade.
All capital from the bourgeoisie. Oh, but China has a market sector. It can't be socialist. You have to have everything nationalized to be socialist, Caleb. By degree, meaning not all at once, but by degree, all capital from the bourgeoisie. To centralize, what does centralize mean? All capital.
Wow.
By degree, all capital from the bourgeoisie. To rest political supremacy. It will take control of the government. To rest by degree, all capital from the bourgeoisie. Oh, but China has a market sector. It can't be socialist. You have to have.
China doesn't just have a market sector, Caleb. China literally has billionaires. Hundreds of them. Nearly 1,000 of them. And they're in the government. They're in the government. They're part of the Central Committee. Billionaires. Imperialists. What do you mean they just have a market? The Soviet Union had a market. The Soviet Union didn't have billionaires. They didn't have millionaires. They didn't have private property. What the fuck are you talking about, lad? What the fuck?
Everything nationalized to be socialist, Caleb, by degree. Meaning not all at once, but by degree.
And China has increased its private property, increased the amount of capitalists in its country. It's not going down by degree or being dealt with. If you got billionaires and you've got that much capital. China has that much capital. You know, the main process of this system as to why they named it capitalism, because they're so happy that they finally found the most industrious and prosperous and financial way to develop capital. Finance capital. They've got so much capital that they're exporting it abroad to other countries. What did Lenin say was the what happens when a capitalist nation gets so much congested capital that they have to export it abroad? Oh shit, it's imperialism. Oh, wonder, is China imperialist?
All capital from the bourgeoisie. To centralize, what does centralize mean? All instruments of production in the hands of the state. Oh, Marx didn't want a planned economy. Lenin invented that. I watched the Thought Slime video. Centralize.
I've never heard Thought Slime say that that planned economy wasn't a Marxian thing. What the fuck are you on about? And yet the idea of like properly like sort of coming up with the idea of actual planned economy, not just conceptualizing like Marx is doing here. Like, you can't turn around and go, a conceptualization is the same as someone actually coming up with the idea. Like, Engels was the first person to concretely start shaping up the proper ideas of dialectical materialism and historical materialism, not Marx. But Marx still purveyed ideas that believe these things. Marx's ideas are in Engels' ideas on dialectical historical materialism. Marx purveyed ideas that showed support for a planned economy, because of course, well, how else is the economy going to be sorted out? He didn't really explicitly go into detail on it. Lenin did define that and did bring that into greater discussion. I have not seen I don't remember the Fortline video about it. So the Fortline video, you just sound like a fucking gimp. Someone should smack you with a plank of wood when you do shit like that. Because what you're doing is gimmicking. That, you know what that's done? That's done to fucking try and imply that people with speech impediments are stupid. Because they sound stupid. Like, that's a stupid way to sound. I know people who sound straight like this. And they are some of the fucking smartest people I know. Suck your mum. What the fuck? What? Caleb, you don't need to sound like that. You don't need to discriminate people who sound fucking off as the idea of stupid. You don't know being stupid doesn't change the sound of your voice, Caleb? People with speech impediments have problems with their voice. That makes them sound quite similar to the voice you're trying to imply is the sound of stupidity. Your clown act ain't funny. I ain't fucking laughing.
Centralize all instruments of production into the hands of the state. The proletariat organizes the ruling class, and to increase the productive forces as rapidly as increase. The whole point of socialism is to make everyone poor. Capitalism wants growth. Oh, we want to make everyone poor, so it's good.
Anyone here? Have you said that you want to make everyone poor? Well, you're not real communists. Sorry. Here, we only want to make the people poor. You know, that's why we strive for poor people to have better living standards, because we just want them to be poor. Caleb, there is a big difference between wanting socialist society for people that provides each according to their ability and each according to their need, communism, or your billionaire overproductive force construction is shite. That's just a fascist fucking Ponzi scheme to overproduce the industry. You fucking eugenic fuck. You want Malthusianism. You know what Malthusianism is, Caleb? Malthusianism was the idea that there isn't enough resources for people. They went on about overpopulation, exactly. They were saying that we don't have enough things to provide everyone the nice life. And having this, the way the Malthusians put it is having this useless eaters at the bottom that we're feeding, that we don't have enough of the nice life for them. Why don't we get rid of them? That's what Malthusianism preaches. And you know how Malthusianism concluded on that preach? They turned around and said that you should work them to death in factories, developing the productive forces of society, developing the industry you have, developing the capacity to automate, developing the capacity for us to have an overabundance of stuff post-scarcity, and work them till they're dead, kill them off, remove any chance of legacy, work their kids in the factories. That's Malthusianism. That's what you fucking want with your fucking overproductive force crap. China worked kids in factories at one point. China had kids doing jobs adults should be doing during the fucking 90s and the early 2000s. I remember being taught about it in school. Have you not heard about sweatshops, Caleb? You know, the ones that exist in China. As you would say over there, what a wanker. He is, yeah, he's a wanker. He's a fucking piece of shit wanker. He's a waste man and an absolute bumperclot. No one in the lumpen proletariat should trust Caleb. You should be sussed to the motherfucking level. You know, maybe he should think twice about trying to say that China's so great when they treat their working class like shit. I want socialism for China. That's why I support the many Maoist organizations that are trying to organize in China. I don't go and support the fucking central government just because it calls itself communist. I'm a little more critically thought than that, Caleb. You've got such advanced positions and stuff. I can't seem to believe that you won't know this. I can't seem to believe that this is some misunderstanding on your behalf. You're an intelligent man. Stop lying that this is just some fucking adamanted belief and come out and be honest that you just want what China is, a fascist state. You want what it is. You want that. You want corporatism. You want billionaires. You don't want socialism. Make the people poor. Suck your mom.
Good for Mother Earth. We want to have everyone to have less stuff. No, to increase the total productive forces as rapidly as possible. That is the Communist Manifesto, my friend. Now, I can keep reading from the Communist Manifesto.
And here's the thing, why does he have to keep going to these books, man? Like, why can't you adamantly state why socialism is good and necessary off of your own beliefs? And he doesn't even state the books honestly and accurately to what they're saying because he has to frivolly try and make sure that they're plotting to his ideas. He's doing what Vosh does with fucking quotes. These guys are so similar to each other.
Of course, in the beginning, this cannot be effected except by despotic means and the inroads of the rights of private property, and on the conditions of bourgeois production by means of measures, therefore, which all appear economically insufficient and untenable, but which in the course of the movement outstrip themselves, necessitate further inroads upon the social order, and unavoidable as a means of an entirely revolutionary mode of production. Now, what's the next sentence here? These measures will, of course, be different in different countries. Oh, we can't have socialism with American characteristics, Caleb. That's racist. Oh, we can't do that. Everything American must...
Yes, okay, so do you think that Palestine should have socialism with Israeli characteristics, Caleb? Like, what the fuck are you on about? Of course, and having characteristics is different to using it as a ploy to do capitalism. Socialism with Chinese characteristics has nothing to do with Chinese fucking culture or characteristics. It's literally they're just saying that us doing capitalism and socialism is a special kind of socialism. Oh, wait, who was it who was quoted of saying my socialism isn't the real socialism, it's a special kind of socialism? Oh, wait, Adolf fucking Hitler. Tony fucking Blair. Oh, well, those are great people to be associated with. I'm sure he loves that. Why I'm surprised and don't get why I'm seeing lumpen proletariat, semi-proletarian people I know and disabled people like me getting sucked into Caleb and CPUSA bullshit. You're correct. The lumpen proletariat should not trust Caleb, and I'd add they should not trust the CPUSA. CPUSA and Caleb are two sides of the same coin. It's like fucking picking a social democrat from a fascist. Like, really, what is the difference? They both support genocide. They both support settler colonialism. They both support handouts to the working class to buy them off. They're both fucking heavy on this white supremacy shit. Like, there's no difference. It's just social democrats will try and sell you that they're left a little more than fascists do. Because fascists still try and sell you that they're left. Hitler tried to sell that he was left, whilst also selling that he was right. Like, there's a difference. Fascists will try and do both a little more, while social democrats will try and sell themselves more left. That's the main difference. Fucking, you know when fucking Bernie Sanders, do you know when he supported Kosovo? It wasn't now in his decade-long time of being sucked into the Democrats that he did that, where he's at his worst. He literally did that during what is seen as his prime by people, the 90s. It's the end of his prime, it's the latter end of it, but he still supported Kosovo in the 90s when he was still at the point where people were seeing him as this big radical thinker. He supported Kosovo, a genocide. What does that tell you?
Must be destroyed. Oh, you want a uniquely American form of socialism? That's racist. They will be different in different countries. Wow. So does that mean that, like, in China, they're going to have socialism?
He's getting really red about this, at least on fucking my color-inflated TV screen.
With Chinese characteristics, and in
He's not so much on
Vietnam,
the
they're going to
screen,
have
it seems.
socialism with Vietnamese characteristics, and in Cuba, they're going to have socialism with Cuban characteristics, and in Canada, they're going to have...
Okay, have you noticed that none of these countries have gone out of the way to say this? Because it's self-explanatory that socialism is different in other nations, because as a communist, you look to the contradictions that are occurring to build socialism, but we're all looking to build a certain type of fucking socioeconomic system that is going to be very much the same. Socialism is going to be a dictatorship of the working people. China is a dictatorship of all the people. Threw my spliff at myself. Dictatorship of all the people is what they say. That's class collaborationism. I wonder what class collaborationism is a key component of fascism. I'm honestly worried about the people from my class and disabled. I know from Facebook getting sucked into Caleb and CPUSA bullshit. Gotta try and fucking ploy at them and tell them that they ain't for us. They ain't for us. Caleb and his cronies are very ableist. I mean, I'm surprised they haven't been pushed out by the ableism that they get from engaging with these communities. I've engaged with these dingists and they're ableist as fuck. Fascism of China is a really bad thing for people to get sucked into as well. Because if people start believing that that's a good thing, then what's it? How can you even call them a cadre? It's I don't support police states. I wouldn't support a cadre that called the US a good thing, so I wouldn't support anyone that's calling China a good thing. Ratted.
Socialism with Canadian characteristics, and geez, that might mean that since it's going to be different in different countries,
He sounds like he's plugging his
shit. Does that mean that maybe socialism in the United States might be unique to the United States? Does that mean that maybe Caleb isn't the Grand Wizard of the Ku Klux Klan because he wants socialism with American character?
Who the fuck has called you the Grand Wizard of the Ku Klux Klan? Does anyone know what the fuck he's on about here? I have not heard anyone call Caleb the Grand Wizard of the KKK. Like, what the fuck is he on about? What? They are, for the most part, well-meaning people, but many very, very gullible and naive. A lot of them are baby leftists, and I think getting taken advantage of and being used. I'd introduce them to Gramsci and talk about the labor aristocracy and how they manipulate revolution. Like, that's probably the best way to go about it, is to get them to be more skeptical of the labor aristocracy.
Characteristics? Who knew? But you said Marx and Engels. So that is Marx. And now we'll pull up Frederick Engels. Socialism, utopian, and scientific. And we'll do Lenin while we're at it.
How about you talk about the petty bourgeois socialism that he criticizes in there, Caleb? Because that's what you're preaching, motherfucker. You fucking actual existing national socialist.
Why not, right? Well, you said Marx and Engels. Now we'll do Lenin. Historical materialism. All right, I love this. All right, so we're going to Frederick Engels. All right, Frederick Engels, socialism, utopian, and scientific. If my laptop will let me scroll down fast enough. Oh my God. All right, here we go. All right. The proletarian revolution. The solution of the contradictions. The proletariat seizes the public power. The public power, but Caleb, socialism has nothing to do with the government. The proletariat.
Public power, not institution power, not the state institution. Public power amongst the people. That means organizing outside of the government. Public, outside of the government. Oh my God, are you actually going to obfuscate what the organizing means? What Engels is saying is you don't organize the fucking establishment, you organize the public masses amongst the public masses as they are.
It seizes the public power, and by means of this transforms the socialized production, slipping in the hands of the bourgeoisie, into public property. Oh, that means...
Yeah, okay, so seize, okay, when you seize public power, when you seize property, you are seizing it by force, not taking over the current government. You are seizing it to do what with it? Dismantle it. You dismantle the organs of state power. Yeah, that's a good place to start. I'd also like Gramsci's talk on the military-industrial complex would be a good one to also reference, because the military-industrial complex is tied to the labor aristocracy, like to the hip. And Gramsci goes on about that, but I can't remember which notebook it's in.
You know, everyone knows that what every individual worker cooperative will compete with every other individual. No.
No one's talking about worker cooperatives here, fam.
Seize the public power, the government, and they transform the socialized means of production into public property.
You dismantle the fucking system and seize property and turn that into means of production. This is why I hate when people use words like public power and this, that, and the other. Don't posh it up. Talk about the seizure, the dismantlement, the dissolvement. Like, why isn't he talking about what they talk about the fact that you can't use bourgeois organs of power to suffice the proletarian struggle? Like, it has to be proletarian organs of power. There has to be a dissolving of the bourgeois institutions.
Individual worker cooperatives competing with each other. I mean, it's like, how do these people lie so much? These idiots. I mean, they lie.
Also, calling people idiots is a fucking bad way of dealing with things. That's ad homineous and fairly eugenic to quantify people's right or wrongness based on intelligence.
I mean, it's like, it's pretty
You're very intelligent, Caleb, and you're fucking wrong.
clear what he's saying. By this act, the
I don't think you're stupid. So don't fucking just call people stupid because they're wrong, you fucking moron. How disrespectful.
proletariat frees the means of production from the character of capital they have thus forborne and gives their socialized character complete freedom to work itself out. Socialized production upon a predetermined plan becomes henceforth possible. Socialized production upon a predetermined plan. Now,
Socialized production means proletarian-owned means of production. Electing red people into U.S. government does not make proletarian-owned power of production. You are aware of this, Caleb, correct?
what is predetermined?
Also, anarchists aren't against governance. They're against states. Like, they understand that someone has to fucking, like, there's going to be either for the most part, it's normally a direct democracy, which is what I support as a communist, direct democracy. But a lot of anarchists also support representative democracy. Both are forms of governance. They know that they're going to have a government. When they say they're against all governments, they're against all the ones that exist. They're not against their own governments. Like they're against state power. They want a stateless society. Now, they're obviously they're a bit ambitious to think that they can just go straight from capitalism to statelessness. But to frame it as like this, like, oh, the government would be involved. Did you not think that the anarchists want to seize means of production and organize society on that basis? Did Donna Newman write a book on the labor aristocracy, or was it an article you were referencing? No, it's something I've been orally told. I don't know where it's written. It may be in the Bundists' unpublished works. I'll speak to Nat about it.
Determined plan mean? Does that mean every worker co-op does whatever it wants and competes with every other worker co-op, and it's this beautiful worker cooperative democracy, and we're libertarian socialists, and we're happy socialists?
You are aware a lot of libertarian socialists support planning between cooperatives. Like, they understand that they have to organize society. They don't think that society is just gonna fucking shit itself together. They just know that we don't need to do anywhere near as much as what we're doing today because we're overworking the entire world into its death. Caleb Maupin is a bourgeois, petty bourgeois socialist, never done a real day's work in his life. No, you're absolutely correct. Like, he's what Engels, in the book he's quoting, defined as a petty bourgeois socialist, where socialists, where people who are labor aristocrats or petty bourgeoisie, as it's defined in the book, co-opt the socialist movement to push their own class interests. And what he did do, here's the thing that's like, he did do like a like, what was it, like a summer in a sandwich shop that was on a college campus. So actually he's toured working class life for a holiday once. But he went and mentioned that after turning around and saying someone who has 10 years of work history is like never worked a day in their life. Like, it was hilarious. Like, because the reason why is because Thought Slime said Burger King to say Burger King finally to give people a laugh because he's a comedian. Like, he's a Canadian comedian, so he's an attempt at a comedian, but nonetheless he's a comedian. Caleb's a funny guy. Like, he calls himself a working class man from a working class family. He is like he was over repping it recently, so I feel like he knows that I've been criticizing the fact that his wife's not working class because she's a professional nanny, like she's upper class, like she's a nanny. Nannies don't look after poor people's kids. Poor people don't fucking hire a nanny. They hire a babysitter. You know what nannies look after? Nannies look after posh people's kids. Fuck me. Princess Diana, you know, the one that they killed in the car. She was a nanny before she was Prince Charles's wife. She's a nanny for the royals. That's what nannies are. Nannies are posh people, babysitters. Fucking most people hire a babysitter. The word nanny around here is normally used to describe your old fucking, what's it? Your grandmother. You know your nan, and you had your nan and you had your gran. That's the way we'd split them up. And I can't remember which one's for your dad's mom and which one's for your mom's mom, but your nan and your gran. It's like you'd have your granddad and your grandpa. We'd split it up like that. But I can't remember how it splits. So I think granddad would be on your dad's thing, I do believe. No, actually, no. Grandpa would be on your dad's side because pa and grandpa, and then your grandma would be on your mum's side. So your gran for grandma, and then your nan would be on your dad's side. Yeah. For Nima, comes from English country culture. That's why American Southerners use those denigrations for different parts of their family. Cultural history lesson with the forgetful cripple. But no, his nanny fucking misses is a fucking upper class fucking cunt, just like he is.
Listen, socialism has nothing to do with the government, and we're all smoking weed in the woods. No.
We're all smoking weed in the woods. Oh, that's a fucking jab at me from when I was smoking a spliff in the woods and criticizing him for talking about ethno states. Okay. You know why I was having a spliff in the woods and filming my thing there? Because I was staying out in the woods in the middle of fucking freezing cold because my mate was homeless. While I needed to go to hospital, while I still right now need to go to hospital for the same reasons that are now much, much, much worse, and I should already be there now, but I keep flighting it because I suffer with severe autism. I'm gonna flight, and I suffer with fibromyalgia, which causes a permanent activation of the fight or flight response. So I flight a lot until I eventually fight my problems. Fight me. But you know, I was out in the woods, Caleb, smoking weed because my mate was homeless and I was staying with him. You got a problem with that? Like, what's the problem? I'm in my flat now smoking weed. Is that better for you? Should I go put my hat on and dress in my coat so I look at least somewhat dapper for you, Caleb? So I shine like a fucking diamond. Or are you gonna stop insulting people who use drugs, especially weed of all things? Like, are you against Rastafari now? Are you against Jewish people now? People who intrinsically have an importance of weed in their culture. And I find an importance in weed for my own personal insight on religiosity and spirituality and the connection with nature. So fuck you.
Socialized production upon with the government, worker cooperative democracy, and we're libertarian socialists, and we're happy socialists, and socialism has nothing to do with the government, and we're all smoking weed in the woods. No. Socialized production upon a predetermined plan, a central plan, instruments centralized in the hands of the state.
So, anyone here, would you be convinced by someone if they come and just yelled at you in this condescending, elongated word, shouty mouth crap? Is this going to convince you of like planned economy and moving forward when this guy is like turning around and going, is it smoking weed and the libertarian socialists, no, the government, this, that, and the other? Like, fuck off, Caleb. Like, you don't appeal to people by treating them like they're morons. This is purposefully decisive so that he can foster growth amongst the labor aristocracy. That's what he wants. He wants labor aristocrats to follow him. Build his further for counter-revolutionary struggle against the rising lumpen proletarian struggle, because he is an enemy of the lumpen proletariat.
5-year plan, Stalin, China. I mean, these people just lie. I mean, it's like, this is so obvious what it says here. Socialized production upon a predetermined plan, planned economy, eliminating the anarchy of production, becomes henceforth possible. The development of production makes the existence of classes in society thenceforth an anachronism. Oh, wait a second. The development of production makes the existence of different classes thenceforth an anachronism. So that means the government divides up everything absolutely equal, and there's no income. No. Income inequality. No. That means that if somebody has more money than somebody else, it's not really socialist, because it says the development
socialism
of
seeks to eliminate. No. You're quoting Engels. Engels, back in them days, the definition of socialism, they believed in the elimination of the monetary system. Just like Lenin and Stalin also believed and preached and said was the process forward, that they would eliminate the theory of value, so that there isn't this conceptualization of money. Things are distributed along the lines of each according to their ability, to each according to their need. Yes, we are going to eliminate value, and yes, we are going to allow people to get what they need from society actively without having to pay for it. What the fuck are you on about, Caleb? Do you want a monetary system still? Are you for Caleb, can you please tell us, do you promote the continuation of the theory of value? Do you think the theory of value should be a continued process in socialism? I really want to know. Let me just sell.
development of production makes class society an anachronism, meaning that because abundance emerges, because you have a centralized planned economy, inequality starts to fade away. Doesn't mean forced equality. It means the development of production, not government mandates, not government orders, not the government getting up there and declaring everyone to be equal, but the development of production, because the productive forces rise, inequality and social hierarchies start to.
Caleb, we lived in the most industrial country in the world at one point, Britain did, when no other country had industry. Did you see inequality drop and social hierarchy change and the working people take power, and Britain become a revolutionary communist country? Decolonized itself. England got the fuck out of the other nations. Scotland got the fuck out of the other nations. People started calling Cymru instead of Wales. Ireland is completely free, united. Has that happened yet? Oh wait, no, because the development of the productive forces don't just make revolution happen. And was it I think, was it Lenin who said it? I can't remember, but basically, productive forces alone aren't the only thing. It's about the relationship of production and the productive forces. Yes, quantitative developments make qualitative leaps, but what leap do they make them in? I think you might want to look to Engels' letter to Marx, where he talks about the bourgeoisification of the British proletariat and how the steelworkers are being bought off by the system, by the colonial system. You fucking ignorant prick.
To fade away. This is what Deng Xiaoping was saying. So poverty is not socialism, but to be rich is glorious. But the development of production.
He just promoted Deng Xiaoping. Fuck me, even a lot of Dengists won't go as far as to promote that neoliberal sellout.
Increasing living standards leads to inequality fading away. In proportion as.
Okay. Increasing living standards. What was increasing the living standards by taking away the factory farming equipment from farms? The factory farming equipment. the industrial equipment away from farms, from farms run by peasants and other groups, and giving them and selling them off to privatized farms and not allowing the ones who were running through the state, who were going through the state system, to have the industrialized equipment that they had unless they privatized their farms. Why were they doing that? Is that allowing the productive forces to grow, or is it hindering certain sectors of the productive force to pressure them into the capitalist mode of production instead of the socialist one? What has happened since the development of productive forces in China from Deng's period? They went from having some semblance of developed socialism some sections of underdeveloped socialism and pre-socialistic capitalism that was aiming to be transitioned into socialism, to turning into today where they are a billionaire. They have the most billionaires in the world. They got almost 1,000 billionaires. They're an imperialist capitalist nation that is the biggest economic superpower in the world so far as socioeconomic strength goes. The US has more military bases. That's it. It holds more territory. The Chinese have a larger trade monopoly, and they have a larger hold of capital in the world. So fuck you.
Anarchy and social production vanishes. Anarchy vanishes? But I thought Marx was an anarchist. He would want anarchism. Oh, wow. In proportion.
Anarchy and production isn't the same as anarchism, you fucking... Anarchy was a word before anarchism existed. Oh my god. And no one says Marx is an anarchist. People say that anarchism agrees with the end point of communism. They believe that they want a communist society. That's what people say. That's what they say people agree with on that in retrospect. No one's ever said Marx agrees with anarchism. People have said that Marx's ideas would be useful to anarchism. I've known many anarchists to say that, especially Lumpen anarchists. But what's wrong with that? What's wrong with the anarchists learning Marxism? Wouldn't that help them gain a better idea, especially when the one thing that they mainly want to take from Marxism is dialectical materialism, the most important feature to Marxist-Leninist philosophy? Our literal fucking reticle we use to analyze the fucking world, the universe, the things that are the powers that be around us. If they take that lens, as far as I believe, they use dialectical materialism honestly, they'll find a way to truth, whether they want to call it Marxism or not. They'll find a way to the truths that we've seen, because dialectical materialism is immortally universal. It is a universal science, so long as it is coupled with an empirical look at the world, and looks at also the historical relevance of history, historical materialism. We've got to look to history. We've got to be as historiographical as possible, by looking to all the different sectors, all the different viewpoints, all the different eras of history that we can, trying to gain a picture of what our past is, what our present is, and what our future will be. Dialectical and historical materialism is the way to truth, because it is the universal reticle that we have seen crop up in many cultures throughout history. The Jews have their own version of dialectical materialism that they use to reticle the world. Islamic mysticism utilizes dialectics and materialism to analyze the world, and they are very, very poignant about history. And Islamic mysticism was heavily inspirational to modern scientific analysis and dialectical and material analysis. So,
Proportion as social production and anarchy vanishes, the political authority of the state dies out. Man, at last, the master of his own social organization, becomes the lord over nature, his own master, free. Wow, the anarchy in social production vanishes, meaning the more...
you see what he's doing here? This is intentional. Anyone in their right mind knows that when they're saying anarchy in social production, they mean chaos. They mean the continuative strife of it. When you've got rid of that contradiction, that chaos in social production, state no longer needs to exist and it dissolves. Do you know what it dissolves into, Caleb? Anarchism. And Karl Marx would not disagree with that statement. It dissolves into anarchism. At the end of the anarchy and social production ends, you reach communism.
The more centralized and planned our economy is, the more rationally organized our economy is.
Have you noticed that, fucking Engels doesn't exactly critique the concept of like anarchism as a state existence, like as its existence. He doesn't go about anarchism itself being entirely problematic. He goes on about the ideas they espouse being problematic, the co-ops, the fact that it's ran by all the anarchists of his time were pretty much like petty bourgeoisie that were descendants of old feudal aristocracy, or even were themselves ousted feudal aristocrats in the case of Bukharin. Bakunin. Or was he called I can't remember. Was it Bakunin? I think it was Bakunin. The the anti-Semitic guy. I think it is Bakunin. Criticizing the trend that this appears from, and actually showing that it appears to a similar trend, because he didn't make the book all about anarchism. He made the book about socialism, utopian or scientific, and he proposed anarchism as a utopian socialism, which I would agree with to a degree, yes, sir. But then he also points the problem of petty bourgeois socialism and petty bourgeois radicalism as an issue, and describes that as a poignance as to where anarchism was coming from at that time. You know what's funny? A lot of modern anarchists don't disagree. A lot of anarchists don't disagree with what Engels is saying there. They don't disagree that those were petty bourgeois socialists, because a lot of these lumpen proletarian anarchists want to completely criticize and change the books and be less utopian, be more grounded in a scientific outlook on the world, but an anarchist one at that. So your framing of this is so rigid and facetious. It's full of shit, Caleb. You're full of shit. You're purposefully trying to frame the word anarchy of production to the word anarchism, which they're not the same. Like, anarchy was a common vernacular back in those days, Sorry I've been quiet, was busy doing things. That's alright, lad, it's alright, lad. We all get caught up with the busyness.
Because the state starts to fade away. Man, at last the master of his own form of social organization, becomes at the same time lord over nature. Oh, but I thought socialism was about making nature in charge again. It was about getting rid of human beings and their drive to advance. No.
Look, there's me again. I say, why the fuck is the word settler blocked, Caleb? Are you afraid of critiquing colonialism, Caleb, and the type of state that the USA is? Because I typed in, like, when he was going on about America with characteristics, I was like, the US is a settler colonial state, though. My comment was blocked and I was put in timeout. Like, he times out people who mention the word settler, and it probably automatic for YouTube Studio.
It's the opposite. It's the triumph of humans over nature. Right? This has probably been asked, what would you say is the difference between communism and socialism? Yes, we're getting to that. His own master, free. So, yeah, that's Marx and Engels. But while we're at it, why don't we get Lenin in The State and Revolution? Another very important book. Right? So we're pulling up Lenin.
I hate these people, but they have to, let's get up some quotes, because I can't talk about it myself, because I don't really believe these things, I don't understand them.
I fucking hell, like, I will bring up quotes sometimes, sure, but when it comes to defining something as simple as sweaty socialism and why I support my ideas, I've never had to Google that and point it up. And when I do you know what I will do to you? I will explain what I believe in my ideas, and then I'll get the Lenin stuff to support it. The only time you should be searching stuff up is when you need to prove stuff, really. Like, there's a small percentage where, yeah, sorting stuff up can confine and consolidate and help express a point. And you don't need to do it fucking 4 times, Caleb. But most of the time when you're bringing something up, it's normally when you're having to show someone exemplary proof of what the fuck you're on about. Not shoving it down people's throats of, actually, I'm in line with the great communist thinkers because they said this. That's what Vosh does, and it's very condescendingly disgusting and offensive towards fucking proletarian people. I don't like it. Like, you fucking throwing your book around like fucking anyone gives a shit. It's like I keep getting this fucking kid who keeps dumping all his fucking books, internet website sources onto me, like I'm gonna sit there and read through all his sources. I'm a lumpen proletariat. Either explain your ideas specifically as to why the fuck you want to involve with me, specifically, outright, directly to me, or fuck off. I don't want fucking people dumping shit tons of this, that, and the other on me for me to look into to understand what it is they believe. Tell me what you believe or fuck off. If you can't express what you believe, you don't know what you believe. You don't believe it. You don't have faith in it. If you know what you know, you can explain it to someone. You can explain it to someone who's 7 years old. Einstein, motherfucker. So you need fucking this, that, and the other to tell me what you believe and to convince me of your ideas. Feels like you're leading me on, fam. Feels like you're trying to pull wool over my eyes and say, nah, this comes from prestige sources, fam. It's all top dollar. Suck your mum.
And the State and Revolution. Right? Pulling up first chapter of The State and Revolution by Engels. Right?
By Engels. By
Lenin. First chapter. We'll get to the economic basis of the withering away of the state. The first phase of communist society. This is what Lenin says. The first phase of communism is called socialism.
Okay, he's already going off of a quote that's already into socialism and is off the point that I was caught onto with that situation there. But you get what I'm getting at? Yeah, like he's right. It fucking he's coming in and he's like trying to like do this whole like, wow, well, look, these people like the government does it. The government does it. But it's like, Caleb, the government doing stuff in America is not socialist. The American government having socialists elected to it and doing stuff for people is not socialist. That's a capitalist government with people who call themselves socialists elected into power doing things. You should stick to being a Trump supporter. It suits you better. Better branding. I like the Caleb Maupin Trump look. Anyone else big fan of the Caleb Maupin Trump supporter look? I think it's the new fashion. But I'm really sick of hearing Caleb Maupin talk, so I'm gonna put something else on for you. This is some interesting stuff. Just as a way to end. Where was it? This is fucking ridiculous. Watch what these supposed like anti-racists are.
Everybody, Uhuru means freedom in Swahili. I just want to welcome all of you today and thank all of you for coming out to the March for Reparations to African people. Uhuru, give yourselves all a round of applause.
Yep. I'm a descendant of settlers, and I believe in reparations in order to heal our nation. And we need to address racially based climate change in order to save our planet, in order to save this race. And we need to give reparations before we're going to be able to heal anything.
What do you mean save this race? Are you all about white people? What? I'm confused with that. Save this race? Do you mean the human race? Because if that's fine, then I may just be getting confused because a crying is throwing me off.
Including our planet.
Including our planet. I mean,
hey, I appreciate you.
We got more than just human race to save. It's like all the other animals too that are being genocided as we speak.
Your heart's in the right place. Damn.
Uhuru.
Breaking news. You're watching Channel 5.
It's unfortunate though, because people like that who have their hearts in the right place, they get co-opted real easy by this bullshit stuff where they're fucking, people are like, oh yeah, we're doing this for reparations for the people. Wait till this gets to the end of it and you'll see that this ain't about that. This ain't about that.
With Andrew Callahan.
You're probably wondering what you're watching. I'm your host, Andrew Callahan, and that footage was from the Uhuru Reparations March on the streets of Oakland, California. At the time of this rally, I was a few hours south in Hollywood at an anti-
I've still got it sped up from Caleb. That's why it sounds so dodgy. Get to meet my G Saddam, who absolutely terrorizes them. Hey, they do. I don't know who the video is from, so I have no idea. I think she means the human race. Yeah, no. She's just someone at this Uhuru march. You'll get why I'm a bit concerned when we get to the end of this, because this shit's fucked. I've already seen this. So.
You're probably wondering what you're watching. I'm your host, Andrew Callahan, and that footage was from the Uhuru Reparations March on the streets of Oakland, California. At the time of this rally, I was a few hours south in Hollywood at an anti-vax march.
Here we are, Channel 5 live worldwide, Hollywood and Vine, Freedom March.
But the night before, we caught wind of a very important day, the National Day for African Reparations, hosted by an organization called Uhuru Solidarity, whose slogan is white solidarity with black power.
white people, we have always upheld the lie that America is the home of freedom and democracy.
But the reality is very different.
Long before Trump and the cries of fascism, African people were catching hell.
Something is wrong with this reality. Because every opportunity and amenity I have has been at the expense of my black and brown brothers and sisters around the world. You owe money. If you don't give it, we're gonna come take it.
Coming to take it.
And I've seen Prince take it, all right?
So while I was busy in
that motherfucker who propped up here, he's involved with Black Hammer.
Coming to take it.
And I've seen
He's involved with Black Hammer. So that's the type of people we'd be dealing with here. Black Hammer motherfuckers.
Prince take it, all right?
So while I was busy in Hollywood at the anti-vax rally, we sent our African studies correspondent, Saddam, to the Bay Area to figure out what the hell's going on.
My mama always told me about that water. And I say, okay, ma, I just gonna put my feet in. I'm sorry, ma, I got right in that water. I ain't ever noticed I was going deep in.
Uhuru. We are here at Snow Park. It's one of the whitest parks I've ever seen. We're going to see the Uhuru Solidarity Movement. It's a bunch of white people that believe in African reparations. They want to give us money, so let's get some money.
The United States of America was built.
Yeah, that was Ghazi. A lot of Caleb's fans like fucking what's it? I guarantee a lot of Caleb's fans probably like the fucking Black Hammer, considering the way they're going. Like, we've been joking about this. Like, we joked about Tucker Carlson, and Caleb said Tucker Carlson is someone worth like in like aligning with the engage with sort of thing. And we joked about that, and it happened. And then like, what's it? So I'm not saying that they are. I'm jesting about it, but my jest is at this point where I'm like, okay. It would not surprise me if these guys turned out like Caleb Maupin and all that turned out and started supporting fucking Black Hammer at this point, because they're getting that bad.
Built on stolen land and stolen labor. The African People's Socialist Party was putting forward the figure of 4.1 trillion.
Yeah, fuck them. They're bad. They are the African People's Socialist Party. They ain't good. You should support the All African People's Revolutionary Party. Kwame Touré's party. Well, that's good. That's good. So, but yeah, they will end up like him regardless. Like they're going down that path. I mean, Caleb's already on the wrong side of the Huey Eldridge split of the Panthers. So like, what's it? He's already showing his teeth in the wrong direction. Disarming the African people, because that's what the split was about. It was about arming and fucking being outspoken and having a proper sort of, you know, semblance of a struggle for the African people. Like Huey was downgrading the struggle, and that's why Eldridge stood up. It's fucking Black Panther Party for self-defense. It's got to have its fucking ability to self-defend itself. That's why the Black Liberation Army was formed, and Caleb takes the stance with those who want to disarm than he does with those who want to stay armed. And disarming African Americans is a consistent activity. Well, disarming the poor in general has been a consistent want and activity of the labor aristocracy, because they're afraid of the poor coming up. Wait, when the guns are said by a lot of people to be pointed against the fascists, and the people who most likely become the fascists and mediate and control society are the labor aristocracy. I mean, the mediate the control of society, the labor aristocracy. Those people are the most terrified that they're going to be hit by guns. Shows a lot of consciousness of their class position and how they operate. I can't forgive Eldridge Cleaver for being a reactionary later, not, but he was right at that time. Yeah, he fell off the fucking tree, and like a lot of Panthers did later down the line. But around that time he was still a solid geezer.
$1 billion in unpaid labor. It's really about we as white people confronting our privilege in this system, and not just confronting it ideologically, but confronting it actually by giving back.
Can I have $5?
Are you serious?
Yes.
You got change?
My G.
Actually, I don't. Sorry. I don't. Sorry.
Okay. Next time.
Yeah. Next time. What's going on?
We're here marching for reparations for African people. We want reparations.
How would you like to see like reparations being used like in the black community?
I think that's up to the black people and how they want to do it.
That's true. That's true. Can I get $5?
Of course. I only have a 20. Does that work?
That works, yeah. $20 is cool. Thank you. I love you.
I love you back.
Hey.
We're with the Freedom Socialist Party, so we're a socialist, feminist, anti-racist, international party. Again, coming from an anti-capitalist perspective, we do think that redistributing the wealth is gonna need to happen for any liberation to really happen.
Hell yeah. Can I have $5?
That's not the massive reparations. Where it comes from matters, and it needs to be paid by the people that have reaped the benefits.
We are for reparations. We are, actually working on, a pamphlet on what, the specifics should be. But reparations are a just demand. When you have people that were stolen from their countries and then tell them, oh, hey, you're free now, but we're going to still let people, discriminate against you. You need to make things right through reparations.
And that's mega corporations.
This is the mentality of the labor aristocracy. If you just pay people, it doesn't matter now. They can't complain. We've paid. Reparations has happened. That's what she said. She didn't say end the racism. No. To free these people and still have the racism exist, well, you've got to pay them for the other racism and still keep not do anything about the current racism. You've got to pay them for the other racism. I support reparations. I ain't against that, but I don't think it's going to solve the problems of racism. I don't think it's going to fix their issues. I just think it'd be nice to see black people get a bit of ting in their pocket because they've been mistreated so long. It'd be nice to see natives get a ting in their pocket so they've been mistreated long. I ain't gonna say no to my black brothers and sisters being able to get a free check from white people because they fucking wants it, they want to give it. But I know, as they know, and as anyone who fucking has two fucking things to rub together in their brain cells, no, reparations ain't gonna solve racism. You dig?
And it is the capitalist system. And I don't think it's, I'd give you $5 if I had it, but I don't think it's for any individual who's part of the working class. Again, I don't have it the way I should have it under this system either. So it's not so much, I don't think, for any working class or per person to provide that personally, but to be in a movement that's demanding that happen at a systemic level. And again, tax the rich to get schools, tax the rich to make housing, tax the rich to pay for reparations.
I say we eat the rich to end hunger.
That's where I would come at it from.
So right now, hella people gave speeches, and now we're marching to the furniture store, the Uhuru furniture store. So far, I got $20. I would have got 25, but the dude didn't have change. Some of these niggas are just broke.
My name is Ali Ayolo from Oakland, California, or I'm not from Oakland, California. I've lived in Oakland, California since February.
This woman's a gentrifier. She's moved in February. I'm from Oakland, California. Well, 2021, February last year. I'm from Oakland, Well, I'm not from there. I've been living here since February. She's a gentrifier. She's moved into one of the blackest communities in California. And she's got shit tons of wealth. She's at the front of this fucking Uhuru crap, and well, how else is a white person moving into a fucking predominantly black area if it ain't gentrification? And Oakland has been suffering harsh under gentrification at the minute, harsh as fuck. No, I wouldn't eat the rich. Better to bury them under trees and let them fertilize them. Ayy. The type of trees I do is bury them under the weed tree, fertilize the marijuana like in the movie How High. Yeah. Actually, no, that might not be a good idea because then you smoke it and you start seeing the bourgeoisie because you smoke the weed. Well, they saw everyone that was dead, so maybe you'll see marks. It'll be all right.
Of this year, and I'm from New Jersey. Yeah.
All right, cool. So, what are we doing here today?
New Jersey. It's a goddamn New Jersey skank.
Yeah, so we're out here. The organization that's putting this on is the Uhuru Solidarity Movement. We're an organization that works under the leadership of the African People's Socialist Party to organize, particularly in the white community, for reparations to African people.
Africa is the future. It is the youngest continent on the planet. There is so much potential there. Africa is the future. It is the youngest continent.
What?
Community
for reparations to African people.
Africa is the future. It is the youngest continent on the planet.
Africa is the oldest continent on the planet. What the fuck are you on about? What? Human life comes from Africa. What? Africa is the oldest continent in human history. Are you fucking mad?
There is so much potential there, living there. It's so dynamic. There's so much opportunity. It is literally the future. It will drive innovation from the youth and from additional investment.
What are 3 of your favorite things about Africa?
Oh, wow, okay. I was in West Africa, and they joke a lot with each other. And so, like, if I'm Tore and you're Koulibaly, I'd be like, oh, you eat beans. And you'd be like, oh, well, you're my slave. So, yeah.
That's what she found funny about just what she really loves about West Africa is slavery jokes. She's a white American settler, moved over there at one point. I think she may even still live over there, and she's, I don't know, like, what? Fucking.
Cool. Can I get $5?
I don't have any. They joke a lot with each other, and so like if I'm Tore and you're Koulibaly, I'd be like, oh, you eat beans, and you'd be like, oh, well, you're my slave. So, yeah.
Cool. Can I get $5?
I don't have any cash, but I can Venmo you.
I only got Cash App.
Oh, I got Cash App.
Oh, okay, cool. Shout out Cash App. Cash App is the best service ever. Channel 5 Cash App gang. Shout out to Cash App. The best way to send reparations. If you're reincarnated, would you be white again? These guys are
hilarious.
I want to say no. I would love to be like part of the Black community, like for real. But I also know that that's kind of like signing myself up for issues in life. But you know,
what the fuck is this? I'd like to be, bitch. You don't even know what is fucking going on in life for them. You're a part of the cause of the issues. Paying people don't solve the problems physically caused by whiteness, physically caused by settler colonialism. You fucking clout fucker.
I don't know, man. I like loved being in Africa, so like I would be very happy to be like a West African, like a Malian specifically. They're the best people. They're like so kind and cool and honest.
Yeah, I fuck with Mali. Oh, do you live in Oakland now?
Yeah, I do. Yeah.
How long have you lived out here?
2 years.
Cool.
Gentrification.
So going into the rally, I didn't know what to expect. I realized that most of these people weren't even from Oakland. A lot of these people was from like Virginia, Boston, Santa Cruz, San Diego. And the thing about Oakland is it's a majority Black city, right? Was it Chocolate City, as some people would say?
Is that what they said?
I think that's what they used to call cities, like Chocolate Cities or some shit like that. It was a majority Black population.
But Uhuru's platform for reparations does not address anything in the Bay Area. All the money collected at that march was supposedly going to the construction of a basketball court in St. Louis, Missouri.
Niggas love basketball. No, it's like...
Literally. They want to do stuff to help the Black community, so they raised money to build a basketball court. Is that not the whitest, most racist shit they could have fucking done? Like, the only more racist thing they could have done is gone and built them a KFC or something like that, like just a outright blatant, like stereotypical racism. Like, what the fuck? And wait till you see.
But that's not really going to uplift the community as much as like some type of educational institution, something that'll help people out, like free lunch.
It's Channel 5 of Andrew Callahan. It's just the channel, like they're very recent.
Programs. The basketball court seems kind of redundant to me, really, especially if you're in Oakland.
Oakland has become one of the hottest rental markets in the Bay Area. Now people who've lived in the city for decades are getting pushed out.
Well, the reality of gentrification is hitting Oakland's LGBTQ community tonight. The building that serves as headquarters for Oakland Pride has been sold to a real estate firm.
Me and my daughter got regentified to North Richmond.
Spacious lofts and turn-of-the-century Victorians, West Oakland has been a hot spot for local artists and musicians.
It's kind of a quintessentially West Oakland kind of a space.
So the mayor of Oakland announced she's creating a special cabinet to look at housing and affordability.
According to the East Bay Equity Atlas, Oakland's Black community has decreased by 25% in the past 10 years. And
25% in the last 10 years. And that's not because they've been leaving. We're seeing essentially frontiering again. We're seeing this like gentrification in America is functioning in a very, very settler colonial fashion. They're driving themselves and all. It's just like, this is the obvious sign of fascism flaring its teeth. It's trying to pervade the middle class's supremacy in every area it can. It's trying to stabilize the system of control. And how do you do that? Well, you prevent revolutionary fervor by splitting it up with gentrified zones that create a barrier between specific poorer sectors.
91% of low-income homes of color are currently in areas that are actively gentrifying or about to gentrify. This is a result of big tech's takeover of the Bay Area, which has caused home prices to rise while wages for the working class have remained the same.
I mean, we should look and see how many basketball courts are in St. Louis. It just seems extremely racist to me. I don't know. A group of all white people go to historically one of the blackest cities in California, the home of the Black Panthers, and they want to collect money from other white people, but like not marching through white neighborhoods, and build a basketball court so we can ball up. It's St. Louis, Missouri, yeah, like on the other side of the country. Somewhere where the people who donated the money will never be able to see shit that might come out of there, you know what I mean? Who knows? If Michael Jackson, then oh shit. if the next Kobe Bryant come out St. Louis, Missouri from the Uhuru Solidarity basketball court, nobody in Oakland will be able to be like, I seen that kid, I grew up with him. You know what I mean? So, we decided to see what's up with people from the town, actually from the community.
Well, all I heard was white solidarity. I said, I better get the hell out of here. Shit, what the?
Wait, what?
You're right. I didn't know what that meant. So.
Yeah. Well, what are your opinions on reparations?
I agree with it. I mean, as a people, we've been through a lot.
Yeah.
I mean, all we can do is state our case.
True.
You know what I mean? Just like with anything with laws and, rights, And hopefully Congress or our local officials will step in and, and help out with that kind of a thing.
Hopefully. You think white people are evil?
No, I ain't saying all. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying some of them are, but some of them are not.
You think they owe us money, though?
I think they should. Somebody should, give a little something back.
I think they do.
As a start, I think that every black person in America deserves the right to know where we come from, our ancestry, and it could be done with a DNA from our government. It would, give us knowledge. It would empower us to know who we are. Where do we come from? The slave trade, everything was lost. And the government owes us as a people to know where we come from.
What are your thoughts?
This is a plight of the African people. You shouldn't have the white government manhandle your shit. This is a struggle for you guys to find out and struggle for and get the position pride on. Government is not trustworthy with this shit. The Pan-African movement that stretches outside of the borders of Africa would be more than willing to help with this sort of process moving forward if this was a process that the African-American people united behind. Like, this isn't something you would want to trust the U.S. state with, brother. Like, it's one of them.
Thoughts on reparations?
I think ideally it is owed, but in reality, I don't believe that it will happen. How do you put an amount on, and where does it start and where does it stop? So how do you calculate? I mean, America will be bankrupt, right?
What if I just start asking white people for money?
No. Absolutely not. I think that's a federal government thing. We just can start asking, people for money. He don't owe me anything.
I got $20 so far.
Bye.
So far.
Bye.
Why'd you cut off, man?
Reparations is not going to be...
There's nothing wrong with that. My man got himself $20 from a bunch of fucking middle class people. Fair play. I ain't gonna spit at him. Fucking spin it. Like, get yourself...
some sort of welfare check from the U.S. government. Because how could a welfare check or some sort of payout or something like that ever meet the dollar amount that's been stolen from African people? How do you define what George Floyd's life was worth, in terms of the culture that he brought to the family, his role as a father, and what he brought to his community?
So who controls where all the money goes when y'all collect reparations?
The furniture store, I don't know, I think it's a great way to raise money for the movement. They also have great stuff. Like, I've bought a lot of stuff from here. And,
So what does the furniture store do with the money?
well, I don't know exactly how they use the money, but I think they use it for like the same kind of thing that we're marching for today, to build resources and to invest in the Black community in the U.S. Yeah.
Does it go to the basketball court?
I'm not sure. Yeah. This is my first time volunteering.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Yeah, so that's the end of that. This Maupin watch was not actually several hours longer than it. We were short at this time. Maybe Mr. Maupin will even come and watch and enjoy. Maybe do some more changes to his style of presentation like he has recently. Self-conscious like a fucking ginger prick. I no longer got any respect for him, so I'm no longer going about this in a respectful manner as much as I used to, because it just sick of beating around the bush with this guy. He literally turned around and yesterday on his stream and said that like you should block people that fucking disagree with you if it seems it seems outlandish, but like define outlandish. Like you make up criticisms people are making of you, because some of those times where he says people have said this and this about me, he's never even said that. Never even said that. He's just blowing out of proportion. You gotta be definitive. Like I wouldn't block someone because they made a wacky criticism, because sometimes that could just be things that they've heard and I prove it wrong and they go off it. The only time I'd ever block someone is if they're fucking harassing me to a point where I just can't get them to stop pissing me off. Like if it's an annoyance thing, I'm not gonna block someone because of their fucking views. I don't give a shit. Like, your views are your views. Like, fucking, I'll try and change them, but if not, then you end up on the fucking side. You either end up an aligned socialist that I disagree with things on, or you're someone who I disagree with on fundamentally, and then I'm in opposition to you. It's not that difficult. I don't need to block people that make this and that criticism of me or say this and that about me, because I really couldn't give a shit. Say what you want. The truth is in the pudding. I will catch y'all later. It's daytime in Britain, so good day for people in this fucking shitty system, country place. Good early morning / late night to fucking the Yankee Doodle Diddly Daddy bastards over in Yankee Stan and Canada, Canada, and obviously my Central American and South American comrades, those who are colonized and under siege, and those who are in the oppressed working class, who may be at the settler demographic or also in the oppressed groups. You know what I mean? All my brothers and sisters over there, and all my brothers and sisters in the South of fucking the world, most of which is now plowing through the daytime as we're on again. It started. Obviously other than South America, but I already prior mentioned them, so I'm just going off the basis. I've already prior mentioned them. Africa is fucking, Africa, Asia, all you lot, fucking any of people who might be watching from there, which I doubt it, because I'm fucking, why would you come to me for things where you already know better than I do? But if you do find me cool enough to come along, have a good day, have a good night, and peace and respect, people. Red salute. Aye. And keep your eyes out, because it's not going to just be there's going to be much more communist ML and MLM struggles rising up across the world now as imperialism heightens its strength. It won't just be the Filipinos and the Indians and the Peruvians and the and the South Africans and those communist groups holding the line anymore. We're seeing more and more communists. The Mali communists are rising up. The Ethiopian communists starting to organize. We've got a Kenyan communist group organizing. We got fucking sub-Sahara Africa be lighting up with them peeps. So we got Nasserism spreading all over the place, including groups that want to mix Nasserism with Marxism. It's a spicy thing that we got mixing in the fishbowl. Look forward to the fucking to what's coming in this decade and the decade next, because the imperialist structure is going to collapse eventually. They're going to war with each other. It's going to happen. Britain is replacing its military for long engagement warfare. World war is coming. There's no doubt about it. I don't want world war. No one wants world war. But the world war that's coming is going to breed revolution across the globe. You're going to see people rise up against empire and tell all the superpowers to get fucked when World War starts, just like they did in World War One. We're gonna see it. It's gonna happen. Red salute, brothers and sisters. Happy days, happy nights, and anything in between. Aye for revolution, baby.
Ooh, ooh.